and see the merch, you know.
Exactly. Got to represent.
Gotta show off that merch.
Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Awesome Hardware, episode 238. This is a tech news show that Paul and I do almost every single Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Usually it's at 5:30. Sometimes we go a little bit later, like today, a couple minutes late. Sorry about that. Thank you for waiting. And we like to enjoy a beverage or two on the show. So if you're drinking along with us, whether it be some adult liquor, adult beverage, or not, cheers. Cheers to all of you for joining. It's a beautiful day.
Cheers,
Beautiful day
everybody.
for a stream. A lot of exciting news to talk about, particularly RTX 3000 series Ampere GPUs from Nvidia. Woo! A lot of information was divulged today, and we're going to dissect all of it as best we
Isn't it
can
isn't it great too to discuss it as like confirmed direct from Nvidia rather
for the
than
first
having to
time.
parse through all the like, and this is a leak and grain of salt and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, it's
Like
it's really nice.
this is real data.
Concrete facts. We can actually have real discussions about it.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, it's really exciting. It was a pretty awesome event they had planned. We'll go through all the details. Some other things before we dive into it, though. We do occasionally use adult language, so fair warning that Paul and I can utilize a potty mouth from time to time, but it's always for a good reason, of course. Well timed, and well-purposed swear words. And then we also have our merchandise stores. Mine is Bitwit.tech, where I've got an assortment of collectible items, shirts, hoodies, pint glasses. We have a lot of good stuff here. So go ahead and check it out. Example Exhibit A. I'm wearing a B-Sod shirt, one of our own B-Sod shirts, Blue Shirt of Death. Go ahead and pick one of those up. It's now available in a fresh new blue color, which is a bit more accurate and in line with the actual B-Sod that you would regretfully experience in Windows 10 or similar software. On Paul's store, we have paulshardware.net. He's got the usual assortment of high-quality merchandise as well. The Andy Warhol 8-bit thumbscrew shirts are still flying off the shelves like hotcakes, I'm sure,
Yes.
and uh, and
I'm
lots of other great things. What?
I've still been limited on time to build up the store very much, but I am to inform everyone that the shirts that I like, the ones I'm wearing today, the Awesome Hardware Classic shirts, are now collector's items. They are not being restocked, and Kyle's store I believe is sold out, but there are some still available over on mine at paulshardware.net. Also,
That's
sorry,
right.
my daughter is having a meltdown right now.
No, no big deal. Hey, the stream must go on, man. Get your priorities straight.
She'll be fine.
Pride and joy, crying versus thousands of strangers you've never met, begging for your attention. So yeah, go ahead and pick up something from both of our stores. It's a great way to help support what we do, and you will get a loud and proud Johnson shout out at the end of the stream should you happen to pick up something from either of our stores. We also have nothing else to talk about apart from the main news, so I guess we'll just dive into that. Um, there was okay. I guess we'll just start from the very beginning, and I don't have like a ton of great visual aids to show you guys for this because most more or less this whole show today is going to be about Ampere and recapping everything that was released and unveiled in the roughly 40-minute special event from Nvidia themselves, hosted by the one and only Jensen, CEO of the company, who I guess it's kind of an interesting thing. It's such a monumental event at such an interesting time during the whole pandemic thing and lockdown and COVID and stuff. So, we get events like this where a CEO of a multi-billion dollar company is giving some unprecedented news to the world from his kitchen. And I just thought that was kind of fun and interesting. Just really kind of reflects the times that we're living in right now. There was a lot of discussion and debate on why he has so many spatulas in the background, and also the fact that I think 99% of us missed the RTX 3080 just chilling behind all those spatulas. I think maybe the spatulas were just there as a distraction, as a decoy,
Did you
so we
note?
wouldn't.
Did you notice the spatulas? Because I noticed them again, and I remembered them from last time. But you're right; they distracted me from the fact that there was a graphics card there.
Yeah,
I
it's a strategic play there, Nvidia.
I appreciate
Um,
that.
Definitely. So yeah, I just wanted to start that off by saying, it's kind of an interesting event at an interesting time, but the information was very compelling, nonetheless. I guess we can start off by talking about some of the things they mentioned. We'll sort of go in order of what they revealed during the stream, starting with We'll start with the least important news first. Fortnite has RTX now. I shouldn't say that's the least important. Maybe to some people, maybe to a lot of people, but maybe it's the most important thing to some people. So that was something that they wanted to let us know is that the world's is it still the world's biggest video game? I don't know, don't
Well,
care, but
the stat that
it's
they did
big.
say, and I'm gonna try to be as positive as I can today, just because I
Sure,
feel like it.
that's good.
And
It'll balance out my negativity.
I think this is a smart move because, for one, Fortnite and Minecraft, the two major games that have launched ray tracing support, are graphically they're not as graphically
Right.
intense games. So you can have that eye candy without making the game unplayable.
Sure.
And they're both massive games. They're both incredibly huge, widely played games, and I think that's what they said was these are the two most played games right
Right.
now.
Yep.
I believe that's correct. Seems
Yeah,
reasonable
that
to me.
sounds right. Sounds right to me as well. So there's that, and then they also talked about new technologies that are coming along with Ampere, starting with Nvidia Reflex. This is a technology that is more or less aimed at esports. Um, did a quick little demo here showing that esports is a matter of milliseconds. That this could mean the difference between life or death or hitting your target or not. And in order to accelerate that and to lower latency in this sort of environment, they're releasing NVIDIA Reflex, which optimizes the rendering pipeline across the CPU and the GPU in order to reduce latency by up to 50%, 50. That's a pretty tremendous gain there if it's accurate. And you always have to take that with a grain of salt too. It's like by up to 50%. The up to is a big asterisk there because
It's
that
like
could
your download
be
speed,
true. Exactly. Yeah. It's peak theoretical, right? Doesn't mean that it's going to be 50% all the time,
or like your
every
pay,
day.
like your take-home pay
It's like your take home pay, right?
from your.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it is still interesting nonetheless. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of testing done on this. Along with this new technology, they're also they're planning to release new G-Sync displays that are aimed at esports gamers. These are 360 hertz G-Sync IPS dual driver displays designed for esports with built-in NVIDIA Reflex precision latency analyzer. So, according to Jensen, you just connect your mouse, and I suppose that that automatically, I guess, sort of initiates NVIDIA Reflex and the benefits that it offers for a more responsive experience, if you will. This is going to be arriving. These monitors are going to be arriving this fall from Acer, Alienware, ASUS, and MSI. Not sure if that's going to expand to other manufacturers in the future, but that's what they're starting with at least for now. So I'm sure that makes some esports players happy, or it might make them pissed off. I don't know. I'm not an esports player myself, um, so I don't know. Like when stuff like this comes out, is like do professional esports players get excited with this sort of thing, or do they see it as like kind of a crutch that oh now a bunch of other players are going to be relying on this and it's going to give them an edge, and now I have to play the game and sort of match up. It'd be interesting to sort of do an interview about that sort of thing, how the esports technologies are affecting the industry there. But moving on to the next, and feel free to butt
I
in or just
well,
interject anytime because I'm talking a mile a minute, Paul.
yeah, the latency thing I think is something that if you're doing it competitively, absolutely you'll go for any edge you can get. But this is also I think something that's tying into the higher refresh rate monitors that they're starting to push, and they need to be able to show and ideally show in some sort of measurable way the difference. Kind of like some of the videos that they did with Linus and stuff. How can
Right,
people, they got to sell the product, and in order, the best way to sell the product is say, hey, get this product, and suddenly you'll be a better gamer.
right,
And there's something to be said there for higher refresh rate monitors, but I think there are also diminishing returns once you go from 60 to 144 up to 240, and now we have 360 hertz monitors that were just discussed today. I think Linus actually posted a video today on an Asus 360 hertz monitor,
mm-hmm,
and
yeah,
measuring the latency is going to be something that you can measure and quantify and say it's this much faster.
right,
So tying the GPU latency into that, I think it's probably the route they're going. Um, but hard to
yeah.
speculate too much more. than that.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see where it kind of caps off because as the refresh rate increases, you really need to have faster reflexes in order to benefit from those faster refresh rates. And so at some point, the there's going to be a human bottleneck, right? You won't be able to utilize 1,000 hertz because your brain can't respond quick enough. So it'll be interesting to see where that cap lies, or if they just keep pushing it forward anyways for marketing purposes because hashtag marketing, higher numbers are better and stuff. But interesting stuff nonetheless. The next thing they really covered was Nvidia Broadcast, which I got kind of excited about. Um, this is allowing you to turn any room into a studio, according to NVIDIA. It leverages AI algorithms trained by deep learning on NVIDIA's DGX supercomputers. And the one example that they showed, the first example was um, audio noise removal. So he has, I believe, the streamer. I think he's a streamer. Has his wife come in. She's using a blow dryer, and then he turns on, he enables it, and then all of a sudden you can't hear it. So it's kind of like RTX voice in a way. But what he just
I think
did,
it is
yeah,
RTX. It's just
it is right.
repackaging
Okay,
RTX voice.
so
They're
right,
making it a suite of tools that streamers can use.
right. So they're sort of rebranding it. It's kind of I wonder if they're killing off the RTX voice name or if because it looks like
They might if they're trying to sell this to if they're going to enable it for like non-RTX cards and they want to sell it to a wider variety of people. That might be the route they're going.
right, right. Yeah, that makes sense. But if you look over here, the other thing that I found pretty interesting was that they have what's called virtual. Well, I don't know if there's a name for it. Virtual background effects, basically. So you can see that he basically just blurred his background. AI is analyzing him and the chair he's sitting in. It's cutting him out dynamically and then creating like a bokeh effect or just a blur, really, a background blur, which kind of gives it a more sophisticated and classy look. Likewise, you can swap out the background entirely with a different image or video, so that's pretty cool. But I think the coolest thing that's probably most that's going to be used the most is replacing your background with gameplay, which essentially eliminates the need for any kind of green screen,
Yeah.
which is I
And
think huge.
there are other software solutions already that do this. This is promising to use like the AI acceleration in order to make it better. You can see
Right.
even in the demo, there's going to be issues with like hair, and I don't know how much training goes on, over if you use it over time where it recognizes that, you're you and your background's a background.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I think this is a useful, I think, tool for anyone
Very
who doesn't
useful.
want to, it's you don't have to pay for the Elgato whatever thing or set up your own green screen and have to, put it up and take it down and stuff.
Right.
Um, I haven't messed with this. So, like, are there any examples of people using this type of thing and then like someone else walks in and then it like picks them up or something? I don't know.
That's a good question. It'll be really
False,
cool to
false
see all this
positive.
tested.
Yeah.
But the other, I guess, the last sort of sub feature that they had with
Oh no, I
NVIDIA
misspoke.
Broadcast was what they call auto frame. So this solves the issue of like the streamer's head going out of frame because he's just being shot with a fixed camera. There's no
Yeah.
cameraman. So this basically uses AI to track his face so that if he does start to move out of frame, the camera will automatically shift towards him, making it seem like he has a cameraman, literally behind the camera, panning and tilting wherever his head goes, which also can be useful, I think. Depending on what kind of stream you're doing. I think most streamers are kind of just sitting there planted, but occasionally they will, like he did in the example, get up and turn around, grab something. So it kind of just, I think, continues to make or it keeps the viewers engaged. When you're always focused 100% of the time on the subject, it can increase audience retention, that sort of thing,
Might be
and
useful
just
for like
be more polished.
variety streamers who
Mm-hmm.
do alternative content who
Right.
are dancing or getting up and moving around.
Yeah.
Uh,
Definitely.
this is another one where I think the demo I was watching it and it's like it looked a little janky. I don't know, like a
Artificial.
little choppy as it was shifting back
It
and
did.
forth. So you
Yep.
know maybe and that's the demo that they're showing live. So this is another thing where I'd have to kind of see it in use to see if
Right.
it's if it's smooth enough that people would use it on a regular basis, or if it's just one of
Yeah,
those little things that they added in.
right. And it'll be I'm curious to see if they improve it over time, like if they release, updated drivers for it, or just new firmware for it to improve it. If how regularly they'll be working on it, that sort of thing. But the other thing that they talked about was Nvidia Omniverse Machinima, which Machinima, I guess, is like the art of telling stories, cutting together animations using video game animations, graphics. It's an art form that's been around for quite some time, and this kind of seems to me sort of like I don't know, like the evolution of Ansel, right? Where like first it was all about photos,
This is
and
a this is
this is more of like
Yeah, and
video and
this is like
storytelling.
taking elements of a game engine and building your own thing out of it.
Like if you liked
And
Ansel, if you actually were one of the few people that used Ansel, then you might be interested in this more so than the average user. But yeah, it basically just also leverages AI, I think, to some degree. Here he's just talking about AI and stuff, but I forget what game they used to demonstrate this. Some game that I'm not too familiar
it's on
with.
the left. Oh, that what I'm seeing from you is delayed, but it was they. I know it's on the stream at some point.
Yeah,
Um,
it pops up again here in a second, but so yeah, I mean that's kind of cool if you're into that sort of thing. Um, it's a RTX powered sort of mixer app for video game
are there any like
storytelling.
All right, so I know History Channel sucks now, but I
Mm-hmm.
still have a fondness for certain like historical documentaries and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
they always try to anytime they try to do a recreation, it's always like low budget and it sucks. Are there any historical type documentaries that have gone and used something like this to sort of recreate like a famous battle or something like that? That might be pretty cool. I bet
I feel like that's like $1 million YouTube channel idea.
I feel like that has to already exist, but maybe if
I
it
don't.
doesn't, it's
Yeah.
my idea. No one else take it. Dibs,
Dibs.
copyrighted and trademarked. I said it.
Never gonna do anything with it, but
Yep.
I'll be damned if anyone else does.
Damn, stole my idea.
It's my
Uh,
idea to kill and destroy. Um, so yeah, machinima and stuff.
mhm.
Um, the other thing that they talked about was Nvidia RTX Io, which I think is at 2308.
That was interesting because it's
Yeah.
a storage. Because there's all of a sudden they're talking about storage, and I'm like, all right,
Right.
okay, I see what they're going for. They're trying to talk about game load times, and they have there's a very good point there as well. Games are getting huge, and
Yeah.
the speed of your drive, whereas before it was like, well, if you're on a mechanical drive, it sucks. Jump to an SSD, suddenly you're in good shape, and it's been that way for quite some time. Now it's like, well, maybe there's more of a case now for a higher end NVMe SSD that has, you know, better read and write speeds and stuff like that.
Right.
Um, so yeah, this I didn't the details of this didn't stick with me very much, but I thought it was interesting that Nvidia is also working on, something that ties in with system storage.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it also sort of like you said, it makes a case more now for PCIe Gen 4. We're starting to see that be more utilized and have other bottlenecks that were holding it back sort of lifted. Sorry. The idea here is that your CPU has to, when you load a game, your CPU has to copy files from your drive and decompress the game image, which was totally fine and manageable when people were using hard drives and even slower SSDs, around 50 to 100 megabytes per second. But with PCIe Gen 4 SSDs, we're transferring it nearly 100 times that, 7 gigabytes a second. So now the CPU copying data to memory and decompressing those images has become a bottleneck, which is why NVIDIA's developed new I/O APIs for loading games quickly and streaming directly from the SSD to the GPU memory. They're also focused on GPU lossless decompression, and apparently they're working with Microsoft pretty closely on direct storage solutions for Windows that streamlines the transfer of data from SSD to GPU memory. So I'm sure more of these details will surface in the near future. But what we know for now is that the result is around 100 times the throughput, 20 times lower CPU utilization, because the GPU is doing a lot of the work here, and games are loading faster than ever. According to Jensen, I quote, "Vast worlds will load instantly. Picking up where you left off will be instant." He said all of that instantly about all those instances. So yeah, we look forward to testing that out and learning more about that very soon. There's other stuff here at the
They,
20-minute mark.
they
Yes,
mentioned
Paul?
they mentioned a few graphics cards. I feel like didn't they at some point?
They might have. They might have. I was leading that. I was leading up to that
Were
for
there?
towards the end, or not the end, but the second half, um, because I feel like that's
Oh,
like any.
Are we talking about marble? Sorry, I'm making awesome straw poll questions for later in the show.
Oh, cool,
So
awesome, thank you.
I thought of
I
a
love your
couple.
straw poll questions.
RTX
Cool.
Io.
Yeah, feel free to throw them in
Marble.
there.
Are you gonna show marbles? Actually, I thought
Yes,
this was really cool too.
yes. So this is the last sort of thing we'll talk about before we actually get into the GPUs themselves. But I thought this was a really good demonstration because it follows the previous demonstration that they did back in May at SIGGRAPH, which was also streamed from Jensen's kitchen. But it's really crazy to see the before and after because that previous demo in May was all done with Turing. Turing was rendering, and now we get to see what Ampere is capable of with a similar demo. Um, Basically, the Turing demo was done at 720p, 25 frames per second. This Ampere demo now is running at 1440p, 60 frames per second. So pretty much 4 times the performance that the Turing demo that Turing was able to do just months ago, which is insane. And this is a photorealistic scene that is fully path traced, meaning that there was no rasterization. There's no rasterization involved. It's fully path traced, all in real time, using DLSS 2.0, handling the super resolution, denoising. Everything's pretty much dynamic, and it looks really good, photorealistic and stuff, and it looks pretty smooth from what I can tell. This is also using more enhanced effects than the previous Turing demo. There's 130 area lights. There's dynamic depth of field going on.
If
Physics, all the physics is being
everyone
handled
in
on the
chat is very
fly.
disappointed by the 30 FPS. Or did you miss? Did you say something besides 30 FPS?
No, it's
Or
60
did you?
FPS,
No, it's
but I
30.
think
It's 30.
oh,
Chat is
is it?
correcting you. Okay, I didn't realize you had said 60. Yeah, it's 30.
Oh, my bad.
It
I got
it
that
went
mixed
from
up, I guess.
25 to 30, but they also went from 720 resolution to 1440. So I mean, we're talking about a lot more pixels and at a bit smoother frame rate. But like
My bad.
the fact that it's entirely real time path traced is the thing that blows your mind. With all the detail
Right.
going on, with all the individual lighting they have going on, with all of the effects and reflections and everything like that. It's a really cool, beautiful looking demo, and you're not going to see a game that looks exactly like this anytime soon,
Right.
but you will see a game that looks like this.
At
I,
some
I
point in our
feel like at
life,
some point, I feel like in the next 5-10 years, we're going to start seeing stuff that's like
dude.
incredible
Oops.
like this. So
I mean, imagine when what should we call it? When VR gets that good.
yeah.
That's gonna be. I'll be scared. I'll be really scared. But very cool demo. A lot of demos. You gotta appreciate when there's a good demo in an event like this because a lot of them can be fluff, a lot of them can be cheesy, or deceptive even. So that one was actually pretty legit. And we also had another demo for all you Cyberpunk 2020 fans out there, and that looks pretty good too. This was showing off a lot of the ray tracing effects, the RTX suite of technologies that have been packed into this game, including reflections, diffuse illumination, shadows, ambient occlusion, all while riding on DLSS 2.0 to ensure that the game looks as best as it possibly can, while also performing at the highest frame rates possible. And the game just looks really good. It looks like GTA 6, but in a future alternate reality.
It's a
Um,
really cool looking game.
it looks yeah, just CD Projekt Red's killing it with the art style and everything.
Yeah.
And then RTX I think is just is the perfect thing to bring to the game. It's going to really take it over the edge. So suck it, consoles. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but that is definitely something that's exclusive to PC. Things like that are definitely a reason that you might want to, you know, game on a PC as opposed to a different platform. Um, but we are at that point, ladies and gents, where we can finally talk about those precious, delectable, tantalizing GPUs.
Yay!
So a
Why'd
brief
you make everyone wait so long?
because anything talking about anything else after this would just be anticlimactic.
True.
There's really no point. There would just be a
Save the best
mass
for
exodus
last.
of viewers. So some quick words about the Ampere architecture. Let me just go ahead and rewind this really quick before they reveal all the stuff that I'm going to talk about in just a moment. Um, this is using second gen RTX. It's the second gen RTX platform with 28 billion transistors. That is not the RTX 2080. That's the GeForce 256, by the way. They're just sort of doing a timeline of their big flagship GPUs. So there's GTX 690 and so
This is
forth.
this is such a dramatic reveal, Kyle.
It
I'm
was
very
pretty.
excited. I think I'm more
Yeah,
excited now than I was when I was actually watching the live stream earlier.
I really know how to amp things up. Hey.
Wait.
So DLSS, of course, is on board. GDDR6X memory at 19 gigabits per second, giving us 760 gigabytes of memory bandwidth. And that basically can, as far as GDDR6X is concerned, according to Jensen, it can transmit twice the amount of data as GDDR6. And that's at a 1.9x performance per watt increase, which is pretty sweet. So now we're starting to get into the details of whatchamacallit, the RTX 3080 here, which we'll talk more about in just a moment.
Uh,
Let's talk about the cards, shall we? And then we'll talk about. I was going to talk about coolers and stuff too, but let's talk about the cards first.
okay.
Starting with the RTX 3080, which is at 27 minutes and 30 seconds. So, all right. So I'm going to start with Jensen bringing up the card. He pulls it out from behind the spatulas. We're all just like, "What? It was there the whole time?" Everyone
Then you
felt
got to
that.
jump back earlier in the video and be like, wait, was it still
Wait, was
there?
it there? Yep. And sure enough, it was. And there it is. Baby. Let's talk about this really quick. 2 times the performance of an RTX 2080. According to Jensen, this is the biggest generational leap they've ever had, with 30 shader teraflops, 58 RT teraflops, 238 tensor teraflops. It's packing 10 gigabytes of GDDR6X memory and is going to launch come September 17th for $699. $700.
So
$700.
that,
What do you think
that
about that?
well, I thought what I tweeted earlier today, which is that I believe personally, or I'm strongly suspicious that
Mm-hmm.
the dollar amounts that we were talking about like last week that were kind of leaked early
Yeah.
were planted. Perhaps I can't. Obviously, I have nothing to back this up, and it's pure speculation. But I think perhaps those dollar amounts were intentionally leaked in order to set people's expectations a little bit higher than they actually were.
Right.
I think it's good. I think if we look at past generations of GPUs, and if we look at what Nvidia has done, like especially with like the 2000 series when it first launched, and if you
Right.
look at like what was the previous generation and how much did it cost, and then what are you buying now and what it costs, they're sticking with the same dollar amount for the 80 series GPU.
Yeah.
That's I
It's kind of amazing.
I was kind of surprised. I was like, they're not increasing the price.
I don't think anyone
And
really
and
expected
if
that.
the performance they're talking about is correct, and like the 3070 even is beating a 2080 Ti,
Yeah.
Nvidia is giving people a heck of a lot more, raw GPU performance.
For
Again,
the money.
assuming their numbers are at least in the ballpark.
Right.
Um, then maybe they could have. I could have seen them pricing it higher than this based on stuff that they've done in the past. So I think
Yep.
there's a lot of people who are really excited now about a 3070 for $500. Still a lot of
Yes.
money for a graphics card, but if you're looking at something that's more expensive than than a card that has cost $1,200 plus for the past 2 years,
Right.
that's a big jump up. If anyone's looking to buy a new monitor that has a higher refresh rate or a higher resolution or HDR support or stuff like that, um, It's pretty cool. So I think I think I can say that they did the right thing when it comes to the price. I mean, obviously they could have just made it even cheaper, but they're not going to do that. But the prices
Sure.
strike me as reasonable, even though
Definitely.
I acknowledge that a little bit of that psychology might have been intentional on Nvidia's part by setting us up for thinking that they were going to be 800 bucks and 600 bucks when
Right.
in actuality they're 700 and 500. So
Yeah.
cool.
Definitely. I agree that there could be some sleight of hand there. They might have tried to pull a fast one on us.
You never know.
Um, but I feel like even if you look at this chart, it's got the RTX 3080 right here, up to twice the performance of an RTX 2080.
Hmm.
And look just how far ahead they've put it of the 2080 Ti, and for $700 compared to what is almost double the price of a roughly $1,200 GPU, that's pretty incredible. And I feel like even at it's like at $800, it's a hell of a bargain. If that leak was intentional, but it's
And
700, it just makes it seem like a steal.
and you'll still be able to buy an $800 RTX 3080.
Oh yeah,
Make no mistake about that. There will
don't
be
worry,
aftermarket versions, overclocked versions
yep,
that will
probably
sell for
more than
that
that.
much.
Yeah,
So if you're disappointed in spending less money than you were expecting, just just wait a little bit longer.
you get
Um,
what you pay for. I'm spending as much as possible on this thing. So, and then you could say double that with the RTX 3070. The fact that it's going for $500 and is faster than a $1,200 GPU. This is less than half the cost. This is the card that I think the vast majority of people are going to go for. Because up until this point, the 2080 Ti has been like the holy grail GPU. And for Nvidia to just say you can now have this for a fraction of the price is kind of mind blowing. And I think this was to me the biggest shock of the whole event. The 3070 would be faster than the 2080 Ti because I don't know, I expected that for like in previous launches we've seen the 3070 maybe replace like the XX80 card, right? So like the 2070 is going to be about as fast as the 1080, or something like that. And we've seen that sort of repeated throughout the recent history. But this is kind of just a crazy generational leap, but not a crazy generational price hike that you would expect to come along with that sort of performance increase, which is sort of just like so pro consumer that I mean, I just chat's always a great indication to see sort of like that initial feedback of the news being broadcast, and chat was just going crazy, like they just couldn't believe it. Checking the date, making sure it wasn't April 1st and stuff. So yeah, this is huge news, and I think Nvidia is definitely going to move a lot of these units. We also had one more card though to talk
Wait,
about.
before
Yep.
we move on to that, I did want to point out a couple things on the negative side about the 3070, and this is it's a little bit reaching maybe, but still something worth pointing out. If you
Yep.
go back a few generations, there was the GTX 970. GTX 970, very good card, very reasonably priced, cost around 330, well, it's a little over $300, maybe 330-ish dollars by the time it was widely available. Uh, that's the 70, so the dash 70 with the 970. When they jumped up to the 1070 and then the 2070, that price increased. So it went from like 300 bucks to 400 bucks. Now the 70 class card is at 500 bucks. And maybe you could argue that that's a little bit arbitrary because it's just a name for a graphics card, and really they're pricing this based on the performance, and that would be fair. But speaking of performance and looking at these charts from Nvidia, you should always uh, wait for the independent reviews because
Of
there's
course.
stuff here that we're not 100% sure of, and a lot of that stuff might be uh, when they're showing these comparisons, how how are they testing the cards, and are they using features from the more recent generations of cards like the RTX series and later that that gives a better performance advantage with the cards over, say, if you were just doing a direct comparison of like GTA 5 or a game that's not using ray tracing or that doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
DLSS
Sure.
support or that kind of thing. So
Right.
that's all stuff you should take into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
We only have to wait a couple weeks until we can see some benchmarks. Actually, I think the 3070 is. Do you have the launch dates? for that?
3070 was October, I think. They just
All
said
right, so
October.
3070 is a little bit further out, so we'll
Yeah,
have to wait a little bit longer on that.
right.
I'm actually kind of glad that it's not launching in 2 weeks because
Oh
I'm
god, it'd
gonna
be
have
just
such a rough time
murder.
getting benchmarking done as it is, but I'll do my best.
All your
Uh,
favorite YouTubers will be very busy over the next month or two, guys.
yeah.
Just FYI. So give us a break if you notice any signs of struggle on our end. We'll do the best we can.
But
But
if you're looking at
yeah.
that chart, the 3070 and the 2080 Ti are roughly parallel, and they maybe position the 3070 a little bit higher.
Hmm.
But just consider that depending on how it's tested, you might see the 3070 trading blows with the 2080 Ti and so on. But anyway, I was just
Sure.
trying to balance out the praise with a little bit of the potential criticism, but we got to wait
Yes.
a little bit longer
That,
for that card.
I'm glad.
Okay,
I'm glad you did, Paul.
well,
It's always good to keep yourself in check and not be overly hyped. I can get a little too excited sometimes, so it's
I'm
good to. I'm thankful that I have you to balance me out.
I'm glad that you're glad. It makes me glad to have brought that gladness to you.
I couldn't be gladder.
All right.
So as far as some other details around Ampere, Nvidia said, or Jensen said, that the PCB has
Wait,
shrunken down.
3090. You had just
Oh
told
yeah,
people you were going to tell them 3090, and I stopped you.
sorry, you're right.
Okay.
I was gonna get there. Let's go to 3452, 3450.
This one you had to
Here we
take out
go.
of the oven.
Yeah, that because it's the hottest card. It's the latest hottest card. It's what he's been baking. It's what he's
And
been
it is
cooking with
beefy.
Jensen.
It's a beefy boy.
Yeah, that's a
That's a,
sirloin steak right there. Look at that thing, hot off the grill. I
this is
mean,
the one we were looking at leaks from last week that was like triple slot, big old cooler,
right.
and yeah. What's your thoughts on like the design of the 3090 and 3080? They look similar, just one's a lot bigger. I actually really like it. I think it's a good,
Aesthetically,
yeah, aesthetically.
yeah,
I
it looks
think
fantastic. I like it
they
better
go.
than the RTX 2000 series cards,
I would agree.
for sure.
I
Um,
think they did a good job here with this with the lines and all that goodness. Uh,
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, it looks kind of it looks a lot more industrial.
Mm.
I feel like it looks a lot more utilitarian. I feel like the RTX 2000 series was kind of maybe, I don't know if trying too hard is the right phrase, but I don't know. This just feels like an engineer had a really big influence on the design here, because it's just sort of no frills and just looks like, this card's made to cool and made to run, just destroy frames. But we can talk about the RTX 3090 here, because this is what Nvidia and Jensen is referring to as the BF GPU.
Mm.
I'm gonna leverage our adult language disclaimer and say that stands for big fucking GPU, for those of you unaware.
Yes.
And it is a tank. I mean, I don't know how big Jensen's hands are, so I don't have that for reference. There's no banana for scale here, so they kind of botched that one. But you can tell that it's pretty massive. It's a triple slot design, and that fan just looks ginormous. I don't think they mentioned how large the fans are, but this thing has 36 shader teraflops. And for reference, the RTX 2080 non-TI has 11 shader teraflops, I believe. So more than triple the shader teraflops as the RTX 2080.
Mm.
69 RT teraflops, 285 tensor teraflops, and this just kind of goes in line with NVIDIA's goal of doubling a lot of the ray tracing specs from Turing. They call it the triple double. They're doing twice the shaders, twice the ray tracing, and twice the tensor cores.
Mm.
So it's pretty nuts there. Actually, that might have been in reference to compared to Pascal, I believe, apart from
Okay.
the tensor cores, because that's only on RTX
The
2000 series. On
the
Turing,
the 3090 the Founders Edition card is 12.3 inches long and 5.4 inches wide. It is a three-slot card. That's 313 millimeters long, 138 millimeters wide.
that
Um,
is crazy. And
yeah,
apparently the cooler is supposed to be 10 times quieter. They didn't say that. I don't know if they said 10 times quieter than what. Maybe they're talking about uh, Pascal or RTX. I don't know. The Turing.
I don't listen to that stat about the quietness because that's something
It's
that's
so
really easy to fudge for the purpose of marketing
Yeah,
and depending how it's measured and everything like
pretty
that.
bold claims too. Like 30 degrees cooler than a. Oh, I'm sorry. They did specify it was they said it's allegedly 10 times quieter and runs 30 degrees cooler than a Titan RTX design. But that I mean, like you said, there's so many variables that play there that they could easily fudge the numbers. Does that mean if this cooler was tested on a Titan RTX, it would be, that's how they got the numbers, or if it, so there's a lot of speculation there. But Nvidia said it comes with a silencer, so you could kill someone with this and get away with it. That's a feature. I don't know exactly what he meant by silencer. Do you?
uh, no, but I no, I don't. What does that mean? I didn't catch that
he
part
didn't
actually.
he didn't elaborate on that whatsoever. He just said it comes with a silencer, and then just moved on to the next thing. It was just like this really quick thing he dropped in, and I was like, should I know what that term means in reference to GPU coolers? Because I've never heard it before, and it just made me think that it sounds like, is he trying to say it's a weapon or something? Was it like a really like deadpan joke, or is there something actually called a silencer on this thing that somehow aids in acoustics? I have no clue.
It's
Um,
probably just like a an alternative mode it can run in that has different standards for fan speeds and
Maybe like a
probably
PWM switch or something like that.
runs at a lower frequency or something like that.
But
That'd be my guess.
the other big news piece that they dropped on the RTX 3090 is that this BF GPU is capable of gaming at 8K 60 frames per second. Now, that is something that you should also take with a grain of salt, because are they talking about Cyberpunk 2020 running at those specs, or are they talking about Minecraft without RTX, or Rocket League or whatever? So it's really not sure about that, but they did show a demo, which you should also take with a huge grain of salt, with these alleged streamers that could very well be paid actors. I've never seen any of them. I'm not huge in the Twitch community, but I saw
There
I
there are
saw chat.
people who are fans of these streamers, Kyle, who are
Are
very
there?
disappointed that you don't know who they are.
Because the entire chat during the event was like, "Who the f are
Oh,
these
really?
people?"
I don't know.
No one had any idea. I was expecting to have like see some fans in chat like, "Oh, that's so and so," but no one. Maybe they just purposely chose kind of smaller, more obscure streamers. Who knows? But the game that they're playing, it looks like it's a first-person shooter. Oh, I think that's what's that called? Control. I see Control. I don't know what other games they're playing, but these are definitely AAA titles. They're not games like Rocket League or esports titles. So I guess that's something to be somewhat interested about.
Wait,
But
was one of them really Adam Sessler?
who
Uh, he's he. What did Adam Sessler? He did that show
here?
With Morgan.
Morgan
Uh,
Pierce? Morgan
no,
Freeman?
no, the female.
Morgan
He was on
Morgan.
G4, G4 TV back in the day.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm
that is,
showing it right now on screen. So if you don't
okay.
recognize anyone, I don't know. I didn't really watch much G4.
Well, to
Captain
be
Morgan.
he's Morgan Webb. Thank you, Morgan Webb.
Morgan Webb. Okay,
Is who he did the show with.
got it.
Uh, well, anyway, I sorry.
My apologies for not recognizing these people.
I was
I live under a
watching
rock.
my. Well, that's just I didn't recognize very many of the people either, but
Uh huh.
um, but yes, I would I know of Adam Sessler. Adam Sessler
Okay.
was there with Morgan Webb. What? She was there too?
I have no idea.
I'm trying to follow YouTube chat and it's just a bad idea. All right, you guys.
You lost me at it's not Morgan Freeman, so I tuned out
Okay.
right after that.
All right.
But
Well,
the RTX 3090 is going to retail for 14.99, or that's the MSRP for this for the Founders Edition is 14.99. That's 1,500 buckaroos. That is more than some people's mortgages. But
so
we also,
that
yeah,
was like they had to make the prices of the 3080 and 3070 less to
right,
counterbalance the $1,500 price of the 3090.
sure,
All right, so
which is
yeah,
fair.
obviously I'm curious how much of a performance gap there's going to be between the 3090 and the 3080.
Right,
I feel like with 2080 Ti, it was like 25 to 40% depending on the game you were playing and what you were testing, which is a pretty substantial difference.
right.
Um, so yeah, I'm curious about that. You also have the VRAM difference, and it's it's weird because this was introduced alongside the description of Titan, and when they introduced Titan, when Titan was produced in limited quantities, and it was designed, they had this idea in mind for what Titan was, but then all these people really liked Titans, and so they made more of them and everything,
Right.
and I'm okay with that. Titan was supposed to be called Titan rather than uh, GTX 690 or whatever was the card at the time,
Mm-hmm.
because it was they were saying this card can game, but it's made for other stuff.
Yeah.
Now they have an RTX 3090, which is clearly in the same series along with these other RTX cards,
Right.
but they're sort of still trying to pitch it like a Titan, I guess, or maybe it's more of an embracement of like the true like what's Intel called them, like the super taskers or whatever, the people who are using their computer for like everything.
Everything.
Like
Right.
I play games for 8 hours, and then I render videos for 4 hours, and then I do AutoCAD, and then I do like I don't know, I do
Super
particle
taskers.
simulations. I don't know, like people who are really building these crazy systems
One
and all stuff.
PC to rule them all, basically. That
Yeah.
type of user. If you're a power, basically, if you're a power user in multiple arenas, you're really leveraging every bit of resource that your PC can offer for a multitude of tasks.
So the
Then,
24
yeah,
gig,
sure.
the 24 gigs of VRAM, I think will have an appeal
24
for
gigs,
people who are in that crossover
G6X.
segment. That's a lot of
Yes.
memory. That's a lot of VRAM.
Yeah.
It's fast too.
Um, yeah. So I mean, I'm excited for it. I think that they're just gonna sell out instantly. They're not gonna have any problem moving these units because again, it is that flagship premium card
Mm.
that it's the ceiling, and a lot of people will pay ridiculous amounts to touch the ceiling, just because it comes with the territory. So yeah, and there's at least for now there's nothing in this price range that competes. There's nothing that competes with this GPU in terms of performance. From AMD's side, we'll have to wait to see what Big Navi shows up to reveal if they can compete on that level.
This-
But for
and
now, this is it. This is as good as it gets in gaming for
you
gaming
bring up you
performance.
bring up Big Navi, and this is one of those things that really, really makes me wonder. And I don't think there's any way to answer this question, but like just how much crosstalk there is between like your AMD Radeon team and like the Nvidia developers, and like what they know about what the other side has cooking.
Yeah,
Because that factors in a lot to stuff like how much you're going to price your card at and stuff like that. And a lot of people
right.
were saying when these prices came out, like, this is really going to put the screws to AMD. Big Navi's already got like kind of a tall order ahead of it, um, but now it's got to go up against these cards, which seem to be pretty competitively priced.
Right.
Um, but yeah, hey, I have a random question. Unless are we getting into questions yet?
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
All right. Did you see where the GPU connector is? That fancy new 12 pin.
Yeah, it's kind of at like an angle, right? Like at a
So
45-degree angle in the middle.
go to the Nvidia video and go to 2723.
27, 23.
Should be the side
Oops.
profile of the card from the video. It says the ultimate play
27,
RTX
23. Here we go.
RTX 3080.
Yep, I did notice that right when
Let's So it's
it's
kind
right
of tucked
there.
in there among the fins, kind of right there in the middle.
Yep.
So
And
it's an awkward position
it's at
from
a
an
40,
aesthetic
it looks like
standpoint.
it's at like a roughly 30 or 45-degree angle,
It is coming out at an angle, yeah.
which
So
makes sense, I think. It's
yeah,
fine.
I mean, and also you have to consider that 60% or so of this card is on the left side, and
Yeah.
then the right side where the GeForce RTX
Just
logo is and
all
everything. That's
cooler.
that's a fan and that's fins. So the
Right.
PCB stops. So
Yeah.
unless they did some kind of weird extension, which I don't know if they considered or anything, they kind of need to mount that connector to the PCB, which is where it is. So just a thought, but anyone who's dropping this into a system, you're probably already going to have some sort of adapter for that 12 pin to go over to like two 8-pin peg connectors. Um,
And it's vertical for
and
the
it's
first
vertical.
time. That's also interesting.
So yeah, I'm just kind of wondering for people who are trying to build the sexy systems and everything like that, is that going to be a weird thing? Because it also looks like if you're taking the cable straight from that, like it would almost go over the GeForce RTX display.
Well, I think it would kind of droop down a little bit, like
Yeah,
down and to the
swoop it
right.
down. Could swoop it.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
I
so
believe it's the
interesting.
same with the 3070, but the 3090 I think might have a different PCB because the 3090 it didn't seem to be right there.
Huh.
Yeah.
But the is the do you know if the RTX 3090 PCB is like longer than this one?
I don't know. I don't.
They
The
didn't say,
exploded
right?
view they showed of the cooler and everything was for the
Mm-hmm.
3080. So I think
Yeah.
there's some more details about the 3090 that weren't really shared. All we know is that it's got a huge ass cooler on it,
Right.
and it's triple slot and everything, and it looks to be a similar design. But because it's larger, maybe they have room to make the PCB bigger. I'm not sure. Um,
Mm-hmm.
3090 has three 8-pin connectors. Somebody in chat said. I don't know. If it has
Maybe
power connectors, I wasn't able to see it in the videos, but I can't say I've gone and scrutinized it.
I did see some like leaked images of like add and board partner cards of the RTX 3090, and it looks like a lot of those leaked images from board partners I've seen are using like standard 8-pin connectors.
Yeah.
It's almost like Nvidia, just the Founders Edition cards are using the sort of new 12-pin design, but then board partners are just simplifying it with the same connectors that we're used to. And on that, I think it was an ROG Strix card actually. It did have three 8-pin um, power connectors.
Okay.
If it's legit, it looked pretty legit, but grain of salt and stuff. But it's not hard to believe that the 3090 would have three 8-pins on it. I mean, it's a triple slot card.
That is kind of crazy. The build I did in the Spectre 2.0, which is right back here,
Mm-hmm.
has the MSI RTX 2080 Ti's, the water cooled ones, the Dragon whatever water
Oh
cooled
yeah,
ones, and those had two 8-pins and a 6-pin. And
right.
I went and sourced did Joey did custom sleeve cables for it and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
it was I was so torn by it because I was like, I know this is just an overbuilt card and everything, and the cabling, I don't know. All right, I
Torn
feel like
because it was like so much cable type of thing. Like we're
it's a lot
just
of cables. I mean, for the purposes of that
yeah,
build, and because I had custom sleeve cables and everything, it actually kind of I feel like it kind of improved the look.
right.
It's a fairly dramatic thing it's got going on there, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of cables. And then I guess that also brings up the other question:
Mm-hmm.
do you have two of these things?
Exactly right.
Um,
Is SLI supported? There was no mention of
SLI
that.
support.
I don't see
There
any
is,
connector,
there is
an SLI
a
finger.
there is a dock, and I think this might have been directly from Nvidia
You can see right here.
that Gamers Nexus had in their video that they published earlier today. But essentially, and I can just say this because I watched the video. It listed the RTX 3090 with NVLink SLI support, and
Huh.
then for the 3080 and the 3070, there was just a dash. It didn't say no. There was just a dash in that part of the spreadsheet rather than no or whatever. So it
Huh.
seems like 3090 does support NVLink SLI, and
Wow.
I can't tell from any of these videos and images that they've shown of it, but it probably has a physical bridge there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm trying
Um,
to figure out where that would be because looking at this, I mean, unless this is the 3080. Let's see if we can see
yeah.
some images of the 3090.
By the way, we have a bunch of straw poll questions for you guys. Kyle put some together, and I added a few more, and one of them is specifically about SLI. So I'm going to start posting that one in chat
Yeah, thank you,
right
Paul.
now,
Yeah, I'm looking
just
at
so you
the
guys can start getting some answers in there.
I just don't see where it would be on the 3090 here, at least in this mock-up image. But they've probably got a creative, clever way of doing it if they're wanting to do it.
The
So if
the
that's the case,
2000 series, they had a very like
subtle
yeah, you
like
you know the little bracket that
cap.
kind of just kind of caps it off, and when that's on, like it gives a really clean. finished
Yeah.
look to it. So
This looks even cleaner though. This just looks
well,
like one single
these are also 3D
piece.
renders, so like they could easily just remove that
Hide
line
it.
if they wanted to.
That's
Um,
true.
yeah.
I
So
feel duped. Yeah, man. Crazy stuff.
oh, some other people in chat are pointing out that if you're looking at the pictures of the RTX 3090 that they're showing, it's just the cooler and
Uh,
not the actual card.
Interesting.
Can you see? I
That's
mean,
a good
Jensen pulled
point.
out the card, and you can see the PCI Express bracket and everything.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I guess if you're looking at some of these renders that they showed of it, um,
So it would
you can't really see
be
that.
towards the bracket. It would be like right here if it was there, right there by the bracket. So okay, it does look like maybe there is some sort. I see like a little line right here,
But it would be on
a
the
tiny
it would
line.
be towards Jensen. It'd be towards his belly, not towards the side facing us.
Right, but I'm saying if the cap's that wide, it could potentially span the whole width of the card and still reveal a
Possibly,
finger
yes.
that's facing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely looks like there could be. I'm pretty sure
Some people
there's
are
something
saying
going
that the
on there.
bridge is already on the Nvidia website. Is there a new NVLink, like a 3000 series NVLink SLI bridge?
I mean,
Um,
eventually they're just gonna do it, crossfire style without any bridge, physical bridge, I
yeah.
think. But
So the straw poll link that I just posted in chat, those are the three options for that. Is SLI dead? You can say yes. You can say no. But you just got to pay for the 3090, or it's totally possible with PCI Express 4.0 and the amount of available bandwidth there that they've come up with a PCIe bus based solution for multi GPU.
hmm
I wouldn't if I was betting on it, I would not bet on that, but it
yeah,
is possible.
right.
That is a solution that AMD has done for multi GPU.
Let's quickly talk about the cooling solution on these GPUs, which over here starts at 2834. Boom. So this is kind of how it works. There's two fans, and they're sort of in a independent push-pull configuration. Jensen referred to this fan towards the bracket as the front fan, which is kind of interesting. I usually refer to this side of the GPU as the back or the rear
I like
because
where you've
it's
paused right there, by the way.
yes. We'll circle back to that. Or that's where
All
I'm
right.
getting at. So you can see that you've got some intake coming from this bottom fan. It sucks up air from the bottom, and then it ejects it directly out the back side of the GPU bracket, outside of your case. So none of the air that's being ejected from this particular fan in the back is going into your case. It's going straight outside, which is kind of cool. And then you've got the second fan up here, which is actually mounted on the top of the card, that's also pulling air from underneath the GPU, fresh intake from underneath, but then it's ejecting hot air in a peculiar fashion directly above the graphics card. It's
I,
shooting it straight up as opposed to outside of some semi-open shroud around all sides of the card. It's really directed. It's a directed ejection of heat
I like how the
straight up.
cold blue air is so nice to contort itself down to go directly into the fan. Like that's so convenient that they designed it that way for it to do that.
It's compliant air.
All
Um,
right. So,
but
so for the left fan looking directly at this, like that's a solution they've been using for some time, and for like all the older blower style reference designs and stuff.
mm-hmm,
And the benefit there was like ejects hot air out the back of the case, and there's
right.
a case to be made for that, and there's a reason why reference cards used blower designs for a really long time is because they could be added to a very wide variety of systems, especially small form factor systems. Uh, uh, like boutique manufacturers and system integrators they'd have an easier time with it overall. But
Yeah.
third-party add-in board manufacturers proved time and again that if you build a larger cooler with an open design with two or three fans on it and lots of fins and everything, and you don't care about dumping heat into the case, you can have a cooler that will keep your GPU cooler, and potentially get you some performance. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a side effect to that, which is Where's that heat going in from that right fan there, Kyle? That looks like it's going like if you had an air cooler.
CPU
If you had an air
cooler.
cooler, like that's just hot air from your
Straight
RTX
into it.
3090 just dumping right into your Hyper 212 or whatever other tower style air cooler that you have there. So
So, hot take,
might
no
not
pun
be ideal.
intended. Hot take, no pun intended. What if people start flipping the direction of airflow on their CPU cooler towers so that it's actually and the rear fan. So maybe add a dust filter on the back, start intaking fresh air from behind your case, going through the heatsink, and then sort of meeting the hot air coming from your GPU now, ejecting out the top. That could
I
potentially be a new trend if for these particular coolers,
I would be interested to see that. However,
right?
if we're looking at this image here and you're looking at the left fan ejecting its hot air out the back of the case, you can take all those lines and curve them up and in, and then they're just they're just making a U-turn and going back into the case, right? To to heat your CPU cooler from the other side.
Could we potentially
I don't
see
know.
case makers start to add like a little hood right behind this part of the case so that any hot air ejected out of the back of the GPU is forcibly directed downwards to
I
sort of
mean,
separate. I mean, this is we're all just speculating here, but I mean, just when something this different happens, usually with a GPU, with something like a GPU or a CPU,
Cole is broken.
it kind of affects the whole industry. Like case makers, motherboard makers, CPU cooler makers, they all sort of react and respond to big changes like this when it comes to GPUs and processors. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the market, how the industry responds to this. I definitely think that this is just
Whoa.
right out of the gate a really strong case to be made for liquid coolers, for AIOs, and it sort of makes sense if you are going to be buying a $800 plus GPU, you're probably going to be pairing it with a really nice CPU that requires good cooling, or that you're going to at least want to have good cooling for. And AIOs are very popular for that sort of thing. So, but then you also have to consider radiator placement. If you mounted your radiator at the top of your case, well then now you might be you still might be screwed, right? Because your GPU is still directing hot air straight up to to the top of your case, which is just going to just suck up all the hot air and pass it through your CPU cooler radiator, thus destroying your CPU thermals potentially. Um, so
So
this also makes a huge case potentially for vertically mounting your GPUs. If the fact that this is actually kind of interesting. So these GPUs are both of the fans on this cooler are taking in air from the backplate side, correct? So if you were to actually vertically mount this, then you wouldn't have to necessarily worry too much about intake being limited between the fan blades and your tempered glass side panel or your side panel, for example. As long as there's fresh intake coming from behind the card, you're good. Then the heat would just be ejected still out the back for the rear fan, and then it would be blowing really towards the side panel for the front fan here, for the right fan. Which at least would sort of disperse the hot air if that's the sort of airflow path you were going for, if that was optimal for you in your case.
are you
That could potentially limit how hot it makes your other components,
you're
like your
talking about
CPU.
like a vertical mount like in
Yeah,
the
like a
Leon
vertical mounted GPU, if you just
wouldn't
vertically mounted it.
that would redirect the airflow, but wouldn't the air from the right fan be pushed towards the motherboard in that if it was vertical?
No, because it looks like both fans they're intaking air from the backside or from the PCB side, the backplate side. So
Both
the hot
fans are taking in air from the bottom of the card, looking at it from the orientation we're looking at right now, which is the same as most cards do right now.
Oh wait, am I
I,
getting that wrong then?
I think you might have it. I think you might have it
I'm getting it backwards.
mixed.
Shit.
But
Okay. So you would be
but
you would be
but
you would be shooting hot air at the motherboard.
Yeah, at the motherboard. But I mean, I think it is a
At
fair
the
point to make that if you did twist the card, it might not be directing that hot air right off the GPU directly into your CPU cooler. So there,
right.
there's a good point to be made there. Um,
It would. You're right. So my mistake. I totally mixed that up. So it would that.
I was,
I don't think it would be.
I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, wait,
It would
hold
be
on.
no, no, no.
Give me a
You're
sec.
totally right.
Yeah.
You're totally right. It's been a long day. So I guess the rear fan would still probably be fine because it looks like it's just directly ejecting hot air out the back of the case. It would really be this right fan that would still be shooting hot air at the motherboard. It would be at the bottom of the motherboard, which you could argue might be less traumatizing to thermals, unless you'd have to double check. You have to monitor your chipset temperatures pretty closely.
Hmm.
Um, and but at the same time, at least it wouldn't be ejecting hot air straight at your VRM assembly
Yeah.
or directly towards your CPU cooler tower. So there might be ways to sort of mitigate that as well. But something to consider. Something to consider how I think there's going to be a lot of testing done on how these cards, how these coolers behave when they're mounted horizontally versus vertically in a case like this. Um, we'll just have to see.
All right.
But
Somebody
in
in chat said that if you look at the Nvidia website page for the RTX 3090, that you can see the NVLink SLI bridge connector, like the place where it connects in the pictures. I'm looking at the page right now, but
okay.
I'm not. There's only 3 images in the gallery for it that are loading up at least. So
Let's see.
anyway, just for anyone in chat, I'm trying. I was trying to pull this up so I could tell Cal to look at it, but
I'm looking at it right now, but
right, there's only 3 pictures in that gallery that I can pull up.
same.
Anyway,
I'm not seeing it, but
yes, I read chat. I look at
maybe we're
chat
blind.
time. I'm
At any rate,
constantly everything you guys say. I'm reading, analyzing, determining whether I should respond or no. All right. So a huge all right. A huge side note, since we're talking a lot about like orientation of these Founders Edition cards and everything, is that there are third-party designs that are going to look nothing like this. They're going to have a full-size PCB. They're going to have 2 3 fan coolers,
right.
similar to a lot of the stuff that you see right now. That aren't going to have any of these sort of different orientation issues or PCIe power connector issues or
Mm-hmm.
airflow issues or anything like that. There might be some interesting things to be said for this particular Founders Edition design, and
Right.
we'll see how popular it is and how much people are going with it compared to the other stuff that comes out from the add-in board partners. But just to say, if you're looking at this and you're like, oh, I really want a 3090 or a 3080, and oh, am I going to need to completely reconfigure my system? Um, Probably not.
Not really.
Just consider that you might not get this Founders Edition. You'll maybe get one of the other versions from Asus or MSI or Gigabyte or EVGA or any of the other board partners.
And did you know, Paul, that the RTX 3000 series GPUs not only are they super duper fast, but they also light up.
Oh yeah.
According to Jensen, right there, boom, light.
Wait,
Ugh.
wait. So that around the edge, the
Around
little
the that unique X shape on the front of the on the face of the card,
lights
apparently
up.
that lights up white according to these 3D rendered images.
It's not
Um,
just the RTX 3080 logo that lights up white.
no, apparently there's actually lighting within this channel right here. Boom. I know it's a little delayed for you, but you'll
All
see
right.
it.
Yeah, I
So
see what
you
you're
know
talking about.
they've finally, I think for the first time, they've gone color neutral. They've went away from the green.
I'm happy that there's
Yeah,
no more green.
I think people who
Could
are
have made
really
it
trying to
RGB. That'd be sweet. Sweet
could have
if it
made
was
it
RGB.
RGB. I mean, who knows? I mean, it still could be. You never know. But
Also,
most likely just white.
unfortunately, our straw poll links, or at least the results, uh,
What?
they're not like there's something wrong with straw poll. I think there's something wrong with the website
Aw.
because the
Oh, you're right. Yeah, mine's aren't working either.
results are pulling
Mine's
up
not
zero
working.
percent. So,
Boo.
oh wait,
Okay, well,
I can't even click.
hold on. Did
Yes, no,
you?
maybe so. Here we
What if you
go.
try voting?
Vote, float. I think
Nah,
I
straw
think
straw pull's
straw
not working. It's just
uh,
down. It's
straw
broken.
pull. Come on.
That's lame. Well, I do have one poll that we can see the results on because I actually took it. I put it on Twitter earlier today, right after the event, and
Ah,
I basically just asked you guys what GPU out of the three that were announced today are you getting? Are you planning to get? This is what you guys said. 16.6% of you said the RTX 3090. You all big spenders out there. 37% of you said the RTX 3080 at $700, willing to drop seven hundos on that GPU. And then a majority of you, 46%, said you were going with the RTX 3070, getting that 2080 Ti performance for just five hundos, which definitely can't blame you for that. So,
it's crazy that 100% of the people who follow you on Twitter are going to buy one of these cards.
yes, absolutely. That's why I didn't even bother putting an option for I will not buy any of these cards because I just
Right.
knew. I knew they were all committed. True fans. All right, so that's too bad we can't look at the straw polls. Um, I did want to mention that I
Like that
am.
is sad. Though. I was kind of curious for what some of the
So was I. You had some good questions racked up there.
no
We'll never know.
stupid straw poll.
We'll never know what people think about these very important things.
Yeah.
Um, and also, did you catch Jensen? I think it was around 34 minutes when he takes out the RTX 3090. He calls it Big Papa, or no, he calls it Papa.
Papa?
As he's taking it out, he just quietly, like under his breath, he goes, "Come here, Papa."
Does he
It's
say
just,
come to Papa?
I think he just says, "Come here, Papa."
Because
So I'm now referring to this GPU as Big Papa.
big Papa.
So Big Navi will have to compete with Big Papa, um, according to Jensen, and we'll just see how that goes. But good old Papa, 1,500 bucks for that. Um, let's see. Is there anything else that we need to cover here, as far as any massive things we might have missed? I think we did a pretty good job of summarizing the event so far.
yeah, the SLI connector, the possible airflow configurations.
Here's a question. Do you think if SLI is officially supported on RTX 3090, do you think we can expect the same sort of lackluster performance that we saw with SLI in the most recent generations?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, I
Um,
agree. I don't think there's been any push to make SLI better or to sort of optimize that. So
it's
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 still
it's just
interesting that they're supporting it even on the 3090. I'm like, why do you even have
like
SLI?
like like benchmark numbers, and I can see that, and I mean honestly, I'm glad they're not ditching it completely. I'm glad there's just no SLI at all. And I would agree with a lot of people who say that SLI is dead, practically speaking, for people who might want to buy an SLI configuration for gaming. Many years ago, there was a debate about like, oh, I'm going to buy this GPU now, and then in 6 months or a year, I'm going to buy another one and add it in and upgrade to an SLI configuration and improve my performance, and that will give me a little bit more lifespan for my gaming system or whatever.
So much for
Um,
that.
yeah, and that hasn't been the case for a while now. So I think we're still going to see SLI support for stuff like 3D Mark, and you might see one or two games that have some limited amount of support for it, depending on how the game is developed and stuff like that. It's just not something you're going to see game developers wasting their time on.
Right.
I mean, to put it bluntly, because there's a lot of other stuff that game developers can work on when it comes to just making their game, functional and playable and enjoyable for
Yeah.
the vast majority of people who do not have an SLI setup.
Right.
So that's probably what we're looking at. I mean, I still like it for that sort of like, what's the best configuration you can do with no limit on money and all that kind of like I like seeing that and see what can happen, but I understand the lack of widespread support because
Oops.
even when it was widely supported, they were widely supporting it for a very small group of people. Like I don't know what the percentages were, but I feel like it was 2% or less or something like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. It's SLI just seems to have become one of those like ultimate flex things, where it's just more of like a show of force, a show like a display of power and wealth, more so than it is any sort of practical choice.
Yeah.
Which I guess there's something to be said about just compensating, um, and just having like a badass looking system. But I do
And
wish
yeah, yeah.
that they would bring SLI back. I wish they would resurrect it, because I would love to start doing more dual GPU setups and actually be able to
If you're
use them.
building out a full-on top of the line water-cooled system and you've got a full-size ATX motherboard, there's no more substantial way to fill that out than with a two-way SLI or Crossfire solution.
Yeah,
That's There's just not. There's no way to add more power right there. I mean, I guess you could argue about you know capture cards or like M.2 riser cards with some sick SSD configuration on them or something like that. But
like
if you're talking
Prometheus.
about aesthetically and everything, and like your water cooling and you're running a loop through both cards, and yeah, you could look at that and be like, there's no practical use for that other than your 3D Mark score, and you'd be like, yeah, I know, but it looks really cool, doesn't it? Like,
I
look
fully
at the
agree.
RGB. Like, look at the lights up. I,
Like
I
like
don't know.
how badass am I that I dropped over $1,000 on a GPU that more or less does nothing?
Yeah, I,
Yeah, it maybe gives me a 10% uptick in games, but I just like that is the epitome of diminishing law of returns, or law of
I,
diminishing returns.
I use it for physics. It's
I use it for
it's dedicated
physics.
for physics. For physics card. Uh, yeah,
Oh
I
man,
understand the impracticality of SLI. At the
I just
same
want
time,
both.
I would be very disappointed if it was suddenly gone.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, for the majority of people, it's not going to be practical. It does suck if it's really not available on the RTX 3080. I
meh.
don't know, but see, then again, I've said in the past, like I feel like I've said this directly. If you have a stack of graphics cards, the only graphics card that's worth SLIing is the top one,
Right.
because anything below that, SLI would not make sense. You'd say no, just buy the
Just
higher
get
end
the next
graphics
one.
card than that.
Exactly.
So maybe Nvidia heard me say that at some time in the past, and that's why they made this decision.
Right.
I
I
mean, probably
I'm
not,
with
but
you
I
on
could
that.
maybe that's I I've had an impact on gaming hardware in the past.
You certainly have, Paul.
Thank you.
You influencer.
Remember when I told Cooler Master to put handles on the side of their box case?
Handles?
Yeah,
Oh.
handles.
Oh. Like when you're taking it out of the box?
No, it's what's the case called? It's not even popular anymore. It's that Cooler Master case. It's like a big box, right? This is back in the Newegg days. I forget what
The half?
it's not a
Oh,
half.
the half
It's a
XB or
large
whatever?
box. It's a big square cube case.
That was a half case, wasn't it?
It might have been part of the half series. It had a lot of airflow. I don't know.
It is the half XB.
Oh, the half XB. Okay, all right, you're right. Half XB.
Yeah. Okay. So that was
Okay.
your move. Like you
Yeah.
told him to make the handles. Nice.
If you were to ask me, Paul, what influence have you had on design and development of computer hardware? I'd be like, Cooler Master. At CES, they brought me into the bathroom. Right? They had a bathroom in their suite where they had
Times were hard
their
for Cooler Master
prototype
back then.
stuff. They had their no, it was at the suite at the Palms, I think. It was at the nice suite.
It's a swanky bathroom.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they had this separate area where they would only show people who agreed to not share it with anyone, and
Yeah. Right.
they had prototype stuff in there, and they had the
Yeah.
early version of the half XB, and it was this big cube-looking case, and I was like, oh, that's a it's a cube case and whatever, and I like checked it out, and I was like, this would be really cool if it had handles on the sides.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could pick it up and move it, and then when the half XB launched, it had handles on the sides.
Boom.
That was me.
You're like, I did that.
Yeah, I that was handles on the sides of the half XB.
I could die now.
There were no tricks turned in the bathroom, by the way. It was just incidental. It was a very nice bathroom, very nice suite.
If you want to come into this bathroom, Paul, you gotta sign this waiver. You gotta sign this NDA. You can't talk about anything that goes on in this bathroom. Okay.
Uh,
Anything.
the handles really made the case. I think it wouldn't have been as popular of a case. without the handles. Okay.
That's what made it really.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's unfortunate. I would have loved to go because we had a whole Ask the Audience plan with a bunch of straw polls that me and Paul made, but
I know.
it looks like the site's kind of down right now. So maybe we can work that into a future, maybe next week or something like that. Um,
Results.
but
Wait,
for
I'm clicking results again. Maybe it will suddenly work. No, it still sucks. It still doesn't work.
right, maybe the developers of straw polls are watching this stream right now. Oh God, Kyle and Paul need us. Let's quickly fix the broken pages. But that wasn't the case. So we're going to move on to donations. Donations and comments, starting with the Mordecai for $5. Kyle, I need to spend money on new graphics card. Help. Well, you have plenty of options now, Mordecai. Now more than ever. More compelling, tantalizing options on the table. So I don't think you'll have any problem. No one who wants to spend money right now on PC hardware will have a difficult time in the next couple months. There's plenty of options there. So
Hey,
good luck spending your money.
hey, Kyle.
Yes.
I don't mean to distract you from what you're doing right now.
Yes, you do. What are you doing?
I believe one of our awesome moderators posted the link to the EVGA website where they have posted their 3000 series cards. Are you
Ooh.
interested in doing a live first look at their pictures for the
I
cards?
already am. Let's do it. I'm
Okay.
already in. I'm in it. All right.
And a
Holy
huge
crap.
shout out to our moderators, Self
Thanks, mods.
Processing and Crafty Hack. I don't know which one of you guys did that, but cool.
Holy
These
shit.
are interesting looking.
Damn. I like it.
Look at that RGB.
It looks like there's like some automotive inspiration. I don't know why it looks
It's
like
wavy. It's kind of wavy, right?
those lines. Yeah, it's very wavy.
Like
Woo.
the fans don't exactly line up, so that's interesting.
Right.
Um, ooh,
Kind of like
ICX3 technology.
ICX3.
There's
Are
a
there any
video
other?
if you scroll
There's
down a
gotta
little
be more
bit that has a
pictures.
360 view and stuff.
Aha. Ooh, ooh.
Aha.
Got some epic music here. Oh, let's watch it. Oh, there it is.
I
All
do
right.
not. This is not a Kingpin card, you guys. I imagine they must be working on a Kingpin card, but usually that takes a little bit longer.
It
This is
almost
the
looks like
RTX 3090 for the Win 3, which
nice
is
backplate there.
the model I believe just below the Kingpin. Is there? I don't think
So
there's one that's better than the FTW.
there's our NVLink fingers right there.
All right,
Boom.
that's confirmed.
Confirmed. And it looks like they might be using a short PCB as well here, just because you can clearly see the heatsink bleeding through the backplate that has a lot of ventilation holes and stuff, and there doesn't seem to be any PCB on this side of the card. Kind of hard to say exactly where it ends, but
It does have triple 8-pin connectors. Actually, no, go to about 57, 58 in the video. 57, 58 seconds. It does have a
Yep.
full-length PCB,
Oh wow.
from what I can tell.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected. Again, these are just 3D mock-ups, so they could be they're not necessarily reflective of the real thing. But we definitely do have 3 triple 8 pins. Looks like there might be some sort of either a voltage point there or maybe a switch on the end. Here, let's go back to where we left off. A little bit of RGB, large amount of venting holes. All right, large ventilation on the back there, the bracket. Looks like we've got triple fan design, big RGB, just honking RGB area right there. Multiple components. So this is the ICX3, allowing you to monitor individual elements of your PCB and GPU. RGB sync.
Wow, they've got a full
design.
They have a full lineup. Oh, holy crap! There is a Kingpin.
Nice.
There's
We'll
an
take a look at that in
RTX
just a second.
Kingpin.
Semicircular heat pipes. Looks like 4 or 5 heat pipes there. Oh, is that red? Is that red on the edge? Is that like fixed?
It looks fixed. It looks fixed to me.
Well, why?
I don't know.
Why is that? And on the back plate too.
Bit of a color accent.
What's the deal? They were doing so well. Why did they change the formula of making everything color neutral if they're going to have RGB on the card? Why are all these red? I don't know. That's why I can see it feels like it's like a automotive inspiration. This almost looks like carbon fiber. I know it's not, but okay, they're giving us an inside look to their software. Icx Monitoring Rgb Control. So this is sort of the various lines, the families of GPUs. You got Kingpin, For the Win 3, XC3, Hybrid, and Hydro Copper. And let's take a look at
Scroll
the
if
Kingpin GPU right
you
here.
scroll down a little bit.
This looks
You can see RTX
Kingpin.
3090, 3080, and 3070, and if you click on each one, then there's a list of the different
Oh,
models they have below that. So
yes. So
for the
3090 here.
3090, it's a
Yep.
Kingpin that has an
Right.
AIO attached to it. Chat says it's a 360 rad, um,
Hmm. Nice.
which which seems reasonable for something like a Kingpin.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised. I feel like the Kingpin they usually take a little bit longer amount of time to get out.
Right.
There's also a Hydro Copper, which is water cooling
Pre-fitted block.
only. There's
Mm-hmm.
a hybrid. There's the For the Win 3 we've been looking at, and there's an XC3, which is a three fan option, which does look like a two slot solution.
Yeah.
So cool.
Right. And it looks like they're all two slot. Yeah.
The For the Win 3 is a three slot, or at least 2 3/4 or something like that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, yeah, that's true. Two
Hybrid and
expansion
the
slots
copper
that are
are
required.
less than that. Then for the 3070, there's a For the Win 3 and an XC3. So
Yeah, so
looks
just
like
two models there.
they took that same For the Win 3 cooler and
Mm-hmm.
dropped it on all three cards.
Right. And then for the RTX 3080, you've got For the Win 3, XE3, but then they've also added the hybrid and the Hydro Copper. There's no Kingpin for this one. I think they usually reserve that for their flagship cards. So, yeah, pretty swanky.
Everyone in chat is saying that Asus has their cards up and Gigabyte has their cards up too.
Oh yeah.
I have
Oh
till
yeah.
7. I have till 7:30. So
Oh,
it's up to you,
then
Kyle, if you want to keep
we
looking at
should.
stuff.
If you have till 7:30, we should probably go over the donations.
Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise,
Well,
we'll,
it's
we'll
7. It's 7 right now.
mods will go ahead and cut off donations. If we have more time after donations, then we can maybe take a look at some of the other aftermarket cards. But I want to get through the
Okay.
people who have graciously donated to us. So starting with well, we already did Mordecai, Zach Frost, $20. Thank you very much, sir. Making up for all the times I missed the live show. Oh, you shouldn't have, Zach. We're glad that you're just here today. Thank you very much for your donation and for your participation in watching our live stream. Joshua J, $5. Hey, Four Eyes. Hey, Four Eyes? Is that directed at you, Paul?
I
Nut up and make
guess.
a real drink. LOL. JK, love you, Paul. Wow. An
Sorry.
insult and just shitting on your drink all in one
Joshua, apparently
donation.
my
He's out.
North Coast prankster apparently is not
That's a good beer. I like that
very
beer.
good
That's a
beer. I've
real drink.
enjoyed it. Wish
I
I
would
had
not
another
dismiss
one.
that.
I think that's all of them though.
Hmm. Mustangs by Matt. Thank you very much, Matt, for the $20 donation. Which one we're supposed to do? And I need my blankie. Which one we're supposed to do? I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
He needs his
Uh,
blankie. Maybe once he has his blankie, he'll start forming coherent sentences.
yes.
Thanks, Mustangs. Appreciate it. MB67, $13.37. Thank you very much, Mike. The first time I've been able to watch part of the stream in a really long time, and I plan on getting a 3000 series card. Cheers. I am looking forward to seeing what you do with these 3000 series cards, Mike. I always
Yeah.
feel like you always have some nice, fun plans when a new GPU comes out, oftentimes in a small form factor environment, which I'm a huge fan of. So looking forward to seeing your future project with Ampere. Thanks, Mike. Toloi Carapin Mustang, $5. Sorry if I'm butchering that. Going to wait for AMD cards to drop. It'll have a positive butterfly effect on GPU prices overall. That's an interesting way to look at it, and I wouldn't disagree with that. It really just depends on where the performance lies with Big Navi and the other AMD cards that are going to be coming out soon. If they're going to be able to compete in that space. How far will they get along NVIDIA's performance scale? Are they going to reach 3090 performance, maybe 3080, 3070? We'll see. I have high hopes. I think we should all have high hopes for competition, and it's been a long time since Nvidia had a competitor in the high-end GPU space. So
Mm.
we're all hopeful, I think. Alex, $10. Thank you very much. On WAN show last week, Luke claimed he and Linus could beat you guys in a fight. Thoughts? No way. Oh, that was
Wait,
Crafty added and said, no way.
Linus claim that?
Luke claimed he and Linus could beat you guys in a fight. Thoughts?
Oh, Luke's included too.
I personally think Paul could take on Luke and Linus at the same time without me.
No, he's a larger.
He's larger,
He
but
has some
I
has
think
some
you have more
mass there.
rage. You have more internal rage and a fiery darkness in you,
Oh,
Paul.
I
That
have
when awakened,
I
that
have
when awakened
vast stores of rage. You're right.
knows no bounds. Be stopped
If
by
I
no mortal.
tap into that, it would give me an advantage over any fighter. Um,
I would be no help. I would be live streaming the whole thing from my phone,
all right.
taking comments.
As a retort here, see, people are also pointing out Luke. Are you taking into account Luke's disposition? He's a very gentle, he's a soft-spoken kind of person.
Hmm.
Uh, Luke naturally, as Luke, I can't see going full force in an attack on someone.
They're
Uh,
Canadian.
yeah, and he's Canadian, so obviously that makes it even more difficult
I'm
because
sorry.
he's apologizing the whole time.
I'm so
But
sorry.
all right, so yeah, but Luke, if you take the the brain away from it, and it's just Luke like in
Just
full rage mode,
physical form, yeah.
I would be very afraid of.
Yeah, me too.
Linus,
I would run.
I'll kick Linus's ass any day of the week. and I laugh as I say that because he plays racquetball and stuff. I feel like he's probably like pretty wiry and stuff.
I get
No,
the feeling that Linus wouldn't disagree with you on that, though.
I
He'd be the first to admit, like, oh, you would take me down in a heartbeat.
yeah. Luke, I'm afraid of if he's actually mad.
Yeah,
Linus,
I'd
bring
be
it
afraid
on.
of Luke, much more than Linus. Um,
Uh, hey Kyle, real quick, since somebody
yeah.
just asked a question about AMD and their response and everything,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna post this just below the EVGA link. It's from Scott Herkelman and his a Twitter reply. If
Uh-huh.
you wanna show people that, I mean AMD's still out there. He's yeah.
Yeah,
Scott's
let's see. Okay, so he said Jeremy Solar.
well,
There's just
Jeremy said there's just no way that RDNA2 gets close to the RTX 3000 performance if these numbers are real, and
sure,
that's just Scott's response.
just
Scott,
like I don't know about that.
he's kind of running the RDNA team or the Radeon team over there, so
That is a
I'm not.
cryptic tweet.
Uh,
It's sort of like, I mean, the raised eyebrow of the emoji says like kind of like what are you smoking, you know?
Something to think about.
He knows something that Jeremy doesn't.
He probably knows more about the performance of RDNA2 than Jeremy does.
Yeah.
I would, I'd say that you could speculate that pretty without too much concern.
Unless we're all just being debated again.
But yeah, yeah, just
Scott is
something
a
to think.
master debater.
I really hope AMD does well. They've certainly let us down in the past on the Radeon side, but a lot of the stuff I've heard seems pretty optimistic there. So I'm still optimistic about what they
Yeah,
have, and
me
I
too.
hope it drops soon.
Yeah, me too. Mula Flaga, 22, $5. Thank you. Same thing I was saying. I get to keep my kidneys. I'm going to buy a 3070. Will outperform the 2080 and the new consoles. I'm pretty sure that an RTX 2080 Ti level performance graphics card will outperform the new consoles. I find it hard to believe that the new Xbox and PS5 will be packing that much horsepower.
Now, to be fair, if you're talking about consoles are typically sold at a loss. The hardware that's in a console. So whenever a new console comes out, there's totally a legitimate argument to be made that if you're talking about price to performance, you can get more raw performance out of a newly launched console than out of a gaming PC that you could assemble at the time.
Sure.
Um, that said, all AMD is doing all the consoles right now. The hardware, I think, for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Sexy or whatever has been confirmed and I think established for quite some time. So I would be somewhat interested in a comparison between them. That's something that I think Gamers Nexus has done a decent amount of work on in the past. So that's probably
Yeah.
who I would be looking to for some actual numbers for that.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
but there you go.
Reloader, $10. Thank you. I just bought an EVGA RTX 2080 Ti for the Win 3 Ultra and the EK Quantum Vector for the Win 3 RTX 2080 Ti water block, and I just put it together.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so sorry.
that's gotta sting a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
when did you buy them? Did you buy them recently,
Was it within
knowing
the
that
last 30 days?
RTX? Yeah, yeah. Can you return them?
Was
Because
it
you could
within the
very
last
well.
30 days? Because
Yeah,
if there's anyone who's mad, like most of the people I think are pretty happy and excited about the news today. If there's anyone who's mad, it's anyone who's bought an RTX 2080 Ti now or in the past month or two. The
yeah.
further back you go, the less pissed off you'd be. But yeah, if you
I
just
mean,
bought an RTX 2080 Ti for $1,200 plus, and you now know that in 2 weeks you could get equivalent performance maybe for $500 or more reliably for $700, yeah, I'd be kind of disappointed. I would be
right.
seriously considering returning for a refund if you have that option still available to you.
Definitely
Um,
try to return it, man. Try to
yeah.
return it. I feel like anyone who bought an RTX between an RTX 2080 Ti and an RTX 2070 Super, any card in between there, you might be feeling a little bit regretful right now,
Mm.
knowing that you spent $500 on an RTX 2070 Super when you could have spent that same money on an RTX 3070 in October and get a lot more performance for your money. So yeah, I think a lot of YouTubers, including myself, have said at one point recently that you might want to hold off on purchasing new hardware, specifically GPUs and CPUs, because this was around the corner at that point, and we've got Ryzen 4000 series pretty much around the corner. So it's risky, a little risky to buy new hardware right before newer hardware launches. So good luck. Good luck with that. I hope you figure it out. And if not, let's say you can't figure it out and you can't return it, you still have
You still have a
an
really good graphics card.
incredible graphics card that's going to be custom water cooled, and you should be happy about that. You're gonna get your. It's not like the performance is lessened. It's still a 2080 Ti. Majestic Savage, $5. Donate so they can have a 3090. Yes, I am hoarding all of these super chat donations for my own RTX 3090. If Nvidia doesn't send me one, I'll probably, even if they send us one, I'll probably still buy another one just to have it. Like I
That
think
happens.
you and I have talked about this. It's always nice to have just one that's just lying around for testing and that sort of thing, and then another one that's like kind of like one that you use. You get to put it in a build and actually use it and enjoy the technology behind it
Yeah.
and the performance. So it's good to have two. So I highly doubt Nvidia is sending out duplicates of these cards. So I very well may purchase one on my own,
I'm
and
very
I'm
much
sure.
I'm going to be very curious about the water block situation for these cards because you're going to have
Mm,
these Founders Edition cards, which seem like they're probably going to have pretty drastically different PCB layouts than a lot of
yeah,
the third-party add-in board cards. So we'll see if
right.
there's any level of standardization there, and
Mm,
how quickly your block manufacturers are able to come up with designs for the Founders Edition or the third-party cards.
right. Yep,
Hmm.
that's true. Um, let's see. Mr. Racer 1029. Thank you for the donation. I'm getting a Core i9 9900K tomorrow. I also want to buy the 3070 when it comes out. Will my 750 watt PSU handle all that?
Yes,
Yes. That
you're
was a
fine.
perfect unison response for both Paul and I. You have double confirmation that 750 watts is going to be fine to drive that. No problem. Deanie Cest 10710. I will take the new Titan for the discount price of $1,500, please. I meant the RTX 3090 BF GPU. Yeah, there's definitely some parallels there between the Titan and the BF GPU RTX 3090. Yes, I guess you could look at it as a bit of a discount if you're talking about sort of price to performance. And again, we don't really know what the performance of the 3090 is going to be. That was one thing. That was one detail that Jensen did not cover on the event. He talked about performance of the 3070, of the 3080, but 3090 was kind of just left in the dark. We didn't see where that point lands on the graph on the chart. So, yeah, more news to look forward to, I suppose. Gordon,
BFG, by the way, for anyone who
yes,
doesn't know, is from Doom,
Doom, yeah,
the original
like
Doom by ID Software,
BF,
which
BF
just stands for Big Fucking Gun.
gun, yeah,
So
yep.
was it the BFG
And they did it with the
2000?
display too. They did it with the BF. What was it called? BFD? No,
Big format display, I think, right?
BFD. Yeah,
Or
right.
it was what they were calling them.
Yep,
Yeah.
with their G-Sync TV thing. Um, it's kind of fun how they've now coined that. Gordon McPherson, 1999 euros or pounds. Thank you. Bring back Lyle. Well, uh, I shouldn't say Lyle is dead and that Lyle's never coming back, but he's on vacation right now. He's on vacation, and I'm sure that when the time is right, he will come back. I'm not looking forward to it. I know a lot of people aren't looking forward to it, but I also know that some people miss him, and I understand that. I understand that he,
Well, Lyle is like a rich dessert, you know.
yeah,
It's
small
delicious
doses,
and everything, but
small
small
doses.
doses, and you need to space it out because otherwise,
Right,
it's a little it can be too rich, can be too much.
exactly. I mean, if you had an ice cream sundae for your meal every single day, it would kind of lose its novelty. And at
Exactly.
that point, it's no longer dessert; it just becomes another dinner that you have to eat. So, yeah, stay tuned. I'm sure Lyle will be around at some point again. Tamas Togyar. Sorry if I butchered that. Samsung and Sabrent talking 7 gigabytes on PCIe Gen 4. So how is Intel going to compete? Compete with?
Are you talking about throughput? Are you talking about?
Yeah, I think throughput is what he's talking because that would be the limit of PCIe Gen 4
Yeah.
SSDs. Why would Intel be competing with Samsung and Sabrent though? Sabrent. Oh, maybe because they don't have PCI Gen 4 yet on their platform, fully
Well,
supported.
they
They
do.
will.
Intel has PCIe Gen 4 SSDs. They have to test them on AMD platforms, which is one of those kind of funny things about Intel and stuff. Intel also, like, their teams are completely separate. You know, their SSD team is completely separate from their CPU team, and even in their CPU team, they have mobile and desktop and stuff like that. So yeah, I think Intel will be competing. Intel's space, I feel like, in high performance storage has often been one where they really want to hammer reliability, and they've done a pretty good job of that, I think, for the most part. But they really that would be my guess. If Intel is lagging behind Samsung and Sabrent, if they are talking about bringing out PCIe 4.0 NVMe SSDs that are hitting that amount of read and write speeds, I would imagine that Intel isn't too far behind. They do a lot of work in that space. Um, but my guess would be that they got to develop their own controller because they use their own controller, and
Mm-hmm.
that they want to make sure that whatever they do bring to market is something that they can sell as a long-term reliability drive, because that's often been their selling points over some of the other competition in that area. That's all I have to say about that.
Good answer, Paul.
Thank you.
Well said. Promethean Storm, $5. The 3090 RTX 3090 comes with a bundle package, Watchdog Legion, and a year of GeForce Now founder membership. Just FYI. Good
Okay,
to know. Okay. So it comes with a
that's good to
game.
know.
It's
That's a bonus. Like game packages and like little bonus things that you get with buying a graphics card and stuff like that, they come and go. It's worth mentioning in the moment when it's available, I think, for people. But I don't typically consider it to be a selling point for the card overall, because
yeah,
it's usually not something that's always there.
yeah.
So yeah,
It's a flash sale.
oftentimes in the past I've made these comparisons. If it's like a holiday time and both Nvidia and AMD have some deal going on where if you buy one of their GPUs, you get this game and this game and this game, and if
Right.
those are good AAA titles that a lot of people are interested in that would cost you 50 or $60 each, that might be a significant impact on your purchasing decision.
Right.
Beyond that, though, I usually don't mention that type of stuff just because it's probably going to be gone in a month or two,
Yeah.
and yeah,
It's not a stable metric to base your purchasing decision on.
yeah.
Um,
But good to know, and
Thanks.
thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
thanks. Yeah, exactly. O'Shea Linux, $5. RTX 3090 is a whale of a GPU card flopping around.
Because of all the
It is,
flops.
yes,
It's
lots
got a
of.
lot of. It's very capable of many flops.
It's a teraflopping whale.
Haha.
It is definitely a whale in terms of size as well. Harley Rogers, I just ordered a new Be Quiet 500DX mid tower. Will an RTX 3090 fit? Yes,
It
I think it
should.
will. Double check, obviously, but that's a pretty spacious interior. You know, it's a ATX mid tower, um, and it definitely has more than 3 slots of accommodation for GPUs and a pretty nice length clearance as well for larger graphics cards. You shouldn't have a problem. I would say especially check the dimensions if you are planning to put like a radiator at the front with some fans, if you're trying to do push pull, custom water cooling or something like that. If you're putting more stuff at the front of your case, then you really want to double check because that is, like Paul mentioned, a 12.3 inch, or was it 12.3 inch or 12? I think a 12.3 inch GPU.
12.3
Uh,
inch. Yeah.
so that is a long card, but width wise and
For
height
most
wise, you
for
should be
most
fine.
ATX cases that have like drive cages or that kind of thing at the front that are removable for clearance for a graphics card, usually those go up to 15 or 16-inch clearance. I'm not sure specifically about the one that's being asked here, but yeah, there should be plenty of room.
Loki Asgardian, is it worth getting the Founders Edition 3090, or do you think subsequent releases will be more powerful at a lower price tag? I think there is a reason why aftermarket GPUs exist. And from what we've seen in the past few years, for a long time now, is that you can often get more features, maybe even more performance out of the aftermarket GPUs. Better cooling, more overclocking potential, faster just clock speeds out of the box. That that of these GPUs that have been factory overclocked over the Founders Edition or reference design. Other features, aesthetics. There's a lot of things that these add-in board partners can offer and bring to the table on top of the Founders Editions. So if you want to wait out for that, if you want to see what they offer, those board partners, then definitely do so. There's if there's no immediate rush where you need to buy an RTX 3090 immediately, then yeah, I would definitely say that patience is virtue here because we have really only scratched the surface of what board partners are offering with this series. And I have a feeling that they're going to have their own, each board partner is going to have their own sort of spin and twist and their own feature set of what they're trying to push with this generation. And yeah, you will definitely be able to find price tags lower than what the Founders Editions are going for. So if you're trying to save a few bucks, then that could also be a reason to hold out.
Kyle, have you tested any cards, any aftermarket cards in the past year or two that have been slower than the reference cards, whether it's at the Nvidia side or AMD side?
From what I've tested, no. I feel like most of the aftermarket cards that I've tested have been faster than the Founders Editions, unless it's like a super budget one that's like like a blower style fan design. It's
I
just like a
thought
stock
you
PCB.
didn't you have a specific card that was slower than the reference model?
Which one?
I'm blanking on it right now, but
RTX 2000 series Turing?
might no maybe the RX 5700 XT. Anyway,
Man, it's
I'm
all a blur. I mean, I've tested so much stuff and
right.
worked with so much hardware that
I'm
I don't
blanking
know.
right now.
It's
Well,
possible. It's
just
possible.
just, just to provide a counter from what you've just mentioned, I know there have been cards that have been tested that have been slower than the Founders Edition, so that's possible as well.
Yeah,
Um, just
it's
just to throw it out there, you're probably not going to have a definitive answer for your question until these cards launch and multiple individual
oops.
third parties can test them and compare them against each other. So you might want to wait for that, but there's a good chance that you'll have third party designs that will run quieter and maybe faster than the Founders Edition.
Yeah, I'll say the probably the majority. It's most likely the majority of aftermarket GPUs will be faster than Founders, but it's not a guarantee. That's never been a promise. That just
Mm.
because it's from Gigabyte or Asus that it's going to be faster than Nvidia's card. That's never been a guarantee. So just bear that in mind. Mike Safe. Thank you, Mike. If I'm building around a RTX 3080, will a B550 motherboard be sufficient, or should I go with the X570 since it has PCI Gen 4 GPU slot? That's interesting because this is the first PCI Gen 4 graphics card that's commercially available, and we'll soon get to see exactly how it performs on a PCI Gen 4 native motherboard or chipset versus PCI Gen 3.
Wait,
I would say if you're going to buy
what
and you don't
about
have a board yet, oh,
what about the AMD cards that launched in 2019?
oh wait, those are PCI Gen 4. My
Those are
bad.
Gen 4.
God,
Just
I've totally forgotten. Sorry, AMD. I
it's
still
okay.
love you. I still
I
love
mean,
you and your
it didn't
products.
it didn't matter that they were Gen 4, but they were Gen 4.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, exactly.
but Mike, more to the point here, it doesn't matter for your question. B550 and X570 both give Gen 4 via your GPU slot, so you're fine with B550.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And I would say for anyone else who's maybe in a similar situation who hasn't bought a GPU yet, if you're going to buy a PCI Gen 4 GPU, then just pair it with a PCI Gen 4 motherboard, I think, because that is where the future is headed. And eventually, when you replace your GPU or whatever, let's say years down the line, you know, PCI Gen 5 comes out or something like that, then you're only at least one generation behind instead of two. And you might see PCI Gen 3 bottleneck a PCI Gen 5 card, 3, 4, 5 years from now. So just try to keep everything in parity, more or less, if you can. There's no point in mismatching those generations if you can find good deals on a board that supports
By the way,
that protocol.
if we haven't cut off donations, we should cut off donations. I have 5 more minutes.
Okay,
Okay.
we're cutting off donations. I think yes. Moderators, please cut off donations. Thank you. But thank you, Mike. Steven, will you ever do a video on NVMe M.2 RAID configurations on different boards? What works versus what doesn't? Will devs start making an SSD min spec for games, a minimum spec for games? Hmm.
Well, Nvidia kind of breached a little bit of that topic when it comes to gaming and storage speed with some of the stuff they were talking about with NVMe support and faster load times and stuff. A lot of that I think is still needs more fleshing out from what was shown in their presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that said, RAID configs on different boards probably aren't going to vary that much when it comes to performance because if you're, say, for example, if you're comparing an NVMe M.2 RAID configuration on different Threadripper boards, they're all using the same software. It comes from AMD. The motherboard manufacturer typically isn't the one who develops that software or enables that feature on the
Right.
board. It's just natively there as part of the platform from AMD or Intel. So it probably wouldn't be much of a difference between multiple, like say a Gigabyte versus an Asus versus an MSI board.
Right.
Um, but when it comes to your gaming question, that would be very interesting. I would like to see something more standardized, something more quantifiable, something more to give you a direct, quick comparison when it comes to a game and a solution for a platform and storage to let you know what might load up your game faster versus having a five
Right.
minute wait.
Right.
That might be interesting.
I could easily see SSD starting to appear on maybe not the minimum, but like the recommended requirements for a game. You know, requires 100 gigs for the game file size. You know, SSD recommended or
Yeah,
something like that. That definitely doesn't seem out of the question
better
based on
experience.
based on the sort of experience and the bottlenecks that Jensen was talking about in the event today. Thank you, Stephen, for that question and the donation. Eric, 3700X CPU with 32 gigs of Trident Z 3600 with a 3080 RTX 3080 on a 650 watt Seasonic 80 plus gold PSU. Think I'll be okay? I'll keep my fursuit fur out of it, I swear.
Hmm. I think you're okay.
Yeah, you should be okay. I think
Yeah,
you'll be alright
the
too.
3080, I don't know if they've listed like recommended power supply, total wattage, or anything like that. But most, even current gen solutions, you can get anything up to short of a 2080 Ti. You can get by with a 550 watt power supply.
Yeah.
Having a little bit more gives you a little bit more headroom if you're going to add a bunch of extra storage or additional devices and stuff like that. but you're
Hmm.
probably okay, especially since it's the Seasonic Gold unit.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really
yeah.
reliable. And the fact that Nvidia did unveil that Ampere is going to have roughly 1.9x performance per watt. So that bodes well for people who have more modest size power supplies. I think 650 watts is fine for that.
Oh,
Um,
sorry. People in chat are saying that uh, they're recommending a 750 watt power supply for a uh,
on Nvidia's site.
for a 3080 on the Nvidia website.
Well, there you go.
So
Um,
in
it's
that case, I would say give it a shot. See what happens.
yeah.
You've already got the power supply. It's 650 watts. Your average draw is probably going to be a lot less than that. And your power supply, since it's a good unit, can probably handle spikes a lot better than a crappy unit. So you might still be fine.
Yeah, yeah, exactly what Paul said. Thank you, chat. Luke, hey guys, I'm currently running a B450 motherboard. Would I benefit in getting an X570 or B550 motherboard for the RTX 3000 series? So this is one of those things we were talking about earlier. If you still don't have a board and you're thinking about buying a new board, then get the one that supports the protocol for the GPU that you're getting along with it. But if you already have an existing motherboard, very much like Paul just said, hey, if you've got a 650 watt PSU already in your system, just see how that works, see how it goes. If it functions well, then you're good. I would say the same thing applies here. Keep the B450 motherboard for now and see how your RTX 3000 series GPU performs inside of it, and just I guess play it by ear. Take it, cross that bridge when you get to it. If it seems like it's fine, and from the numbers that you're seeing from other reviewers, once benchmarks come out, are pretty much in line with the performance that you're seeing, where the B450 PCIe Gen 4 protocol isn't a bottleneck or really much of one, then I don't think it would really be worth investing in a different platform motherboard unless you were utilizing or leveraging other features on that board. Um, like you needed some crazy SSD configuration or something like that. But I think you should try it first with what you have with the B450 board. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Paul?
um, I agree. The next question from Michael is a similar one. I have a B550 and running a Ryzen 5 2600. Will I need to update to run an RTX 3000? So, what you're talking about here is multiple things that might cause your graphics card to run or to output a lower frame rate than it might ideally. And there's different things that might cause that bottleneck to happen. One of them might be the PCI Express bandwidth, although probably not. Going from PCIe Gen 3 full by 16 connection to Gen 4 compared to the amount of bandwidth that your GPU is actually using. Your GPU is not using more than what PCIe 3.0 can already provide. So you might be benefiting a little bit from some efficiencies in the generation update from Gen 3 to Gen 4, but typically in real world scenarios, that's a very minimal performance difference. Um, so we're going to need to wait again until these cards are launched and people test them on Gen 3 versus Gen 4 and do specific tests. And you might be able to look at that and say, like, all right, you got a 1.5% improvement by going with Gen 4 or something like that. For a lot of people, that's negligible. For a lot of people, it's not worth the amount of money you'd have to invest into upgrading your core components. Um, that said, you're talking about other things here too, because if you have a Ryzen 5 2600, then you're dealing with older CPU architecture and stuff like that. So you can buy an RTX 3000 series and you can drop it into a B450 based system with a Ryzen 5 2600, and it will work. And you'll get good performance out of it. Are you getting the most performance out of it possible? Maybe not. Maybe it's being held back depending on the resolution you're playing at and other factors. Um, but don't let that stop you from spending your $500 you've saved on an RTX 3070 because it's going to be a big upgrade over your GTX 1070 or whatever you're using right now, just because you're getting 97% of that card's performance rather than 100%. I think a lot of people are really held up on this concern of like, is my core platform good enough for it? I think you're going to be just fine, and I think you can upgrade. And then I think you can take a look at maybe some of the specific benchmarks that come out that give those performance comparisons. And then you might think, all right, if I upgrade my core platform, then it'll get me the X amount more performance out of my GPU. It's also going to depend on the resolution you're playing at and stuff like that. So a lot of
Yeah.
factors go into these types of questions. Um, Ultimately, though, with the stuff you guys are talking about, which is current gen Ryzen or even second gen Ryzen and even B450, I don't think these are going to hold your graphics card back enough that you should, upgrade your whole core platform.
Right. I
But
mean, Nvidia
yeah,
doesn't want to make a product that only users with the latest and greatest hardware are going to be able to use
yeah,
effectively.
yeah.
They're gonna try to make it appeal to the widest amount of user base possible. And like Paul was saying, your resolution heavily is a determining factor here too. If you're buying an RTX 3070 for $500, I mean, chances are, unless you're like super into esports and need like ridiculously high frame rates, you're going to be gaming it higher than 1080p. So you're actually taking more pressure, more load off of the CPU, which is already a component that's not really, games are still not CPU dependent most of the time. They're more GPU dependent still. So if you're gaming at a higher resolution, then that's taking even more offload. You're offloading even more processing off of the CPU. It really becomes less of a bottleneck than you might think initially to pair something like a 3070 with a Ryzen 5 chip or maybe even a Ryzen 3 chip. So don't get too caught up about it unless you are trying to maximize your frame rate and you're gaming at lower resolutions. Then you might want to make sure that you're seeing a CPU bottleneck in that case. But
Hey,
by and
Kyle,
large, yeah.
I'm 5 minutes over, and
Oh,
I can hear a baby crying.
sorry.
My adult instincts, my
You gotta
father
go.
instincts, are compelling me to go and help.
Okay.
But it's okay. Can we rip through these last few questions
We absolutely can.
quickly? Okay.
Yes, yes. So thank you very much, Vasily. Bitwit saved me. My baby won't turn on, and I think she's dead. Please, I don't know what to do. Motherboard is getting power, but she won't turn on. Okay, so that's a whole can of worms that we can't really get into because we don't. There's so much information that
The
is left
troubleshooting
out.
question.
It's a troubleshooting question. Um, yeah, there's a million things that could be going on. We just don't have enough information. So if you can't figure it out by next week, give us a more detailed response. And and then once we have more time, we'll be
That
able to help you maybe.
or dig into some forums. Post
Yes,
your question on some forums. There's so many people on Reddit or on the LinusTechTips forums or lots of other places. Level One Techs, where you can go and people will jump in and help you out after you've given them some more details.
yes, exactly. Q5 Sys, Paul, I have that case. I think he's referring to the Cooler Master Half XB. Those
See,
handles are really helpful. Thanks.
there. You're welcome. You're welcome. See,
The world owes you with much gratitude right
it's
now,
come
Paul.
full circle. I feel validated. Thank you,
Finally got
Q5.
the recognition you deserve after all these years. Uh,
Nice.
John M441, do you think the 2000 series will drop in price? And I have a $300 to $400 budget for a new GPU. Any recommendations?
All right,
Um,
the 2000 series right now, and maybe for the next
Super
couple
high,
weeks, if you want to buy a used RTX 2080 Ti, you might be able to get a good deal on one. You're going to
possibly.
need to buy it used, and there's variables that go along with that. But there are absolutely going to be people trying to dump RTX 2080 Ti's right now. If you're looking at retail space and discounts there and everything, those might come around again, very limited time again, probably just for the next week or two, as since after the announcement, leading up to the launch, maybe for a few weeks after the launch. Typically, inventory like that clears out quickly, and discounts directly from retailers dry up quickly. So, if you're interested in the secondary market, and you're willing to deal with the variables there, then yeah, you might get a good deal. I wouldn't be looking for crazy discounts at online retailers though. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And if you have $300 to $400 to spend on a GPU, I would suggest finding $100 extra and buying an RTX 3070 in October. But if you can't do that, then definitely keep your ear to the ground to see what Nvidia has in store for the lower tier cards like the RTX 3060, because I'm sure that's probably going to be pretty compelling and more in line with your budget.
yeah. I agree.
Arvid B. I wish
Yeah.
Nvidia would stop selling their high-end card with transport protection that you have to screw off before mounting real cooling. Water block if anyone didn't get it. Okay.
When was the last time you broke down an Nvidia Founders Edition card to add water cooling?
Oh,
It's been a while for me.
yeah. For Hotline 2.0 I did that. They were founders editions.
I didn't do that with any of the 2080 Ti's, but yeah, that's one of the questions about this new 3000 series. Has Nvidia made their cards slightly easier to disassemble? That would be
Mm,
cool because a lot of
yeah.
them really weren't that at all
Right.
with the 2000 series.
We'll have to wait and see. Pup Shepherd, what is with all the spatulas in Jensen's kitchen? Also, Wags Wags, Arf Arf. P.S. Did a show called Pimp My Puppy. Wink. Well, knowing you, Pup, any show that you do with a pimp in it means something completely different than something that Paul or I would do on our channels, but we definitely respect what you do and what you stand for, and we appreciate you. We appreciate you and your presence as a longtime fan, and we also wag and wink back.
I agree.
Wags, wags.
It's a
So
special.
that's it. We do have Johnsons, and then we're out.
Johnson's. Okay.
Johnsons.
I got a Johnson for Daniel L. from Texas, who got the Warhol thumbscrew shirt. Thank you, Daniel, and a Johnson for you.
Noise. I do have quite a few Johnsons here. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Okay. I'll try to roll through these quickly.
Okay.
Randy F. Thank you. Johnson to you, Randy F. Instead of mentioning the merch, I'm just going to say their names.
All right.
Um,
Robert P. Johnson to you. Oxblood t-shirt. Thank you. Big Johnsons.
Benjamin S. gets a big old Johnson. I appreciate you, Benjamin. Thank you.
Edward H. from Louisiana. Thank you very much for your purchase, and a Johnson for you.
Andrew H. from Alpharetta, Georgia. Johnson, Andrew.
Jamie C. from Hawaii. Aloha. Blessings upon the islands and all that. And thank you very much for your purchase. Johnson for you, Jamie.
Max B. from Lincoln, Rhode Island. Johnson to you, and blessings to you and your Rhode Islands.
You need to keep escalating the blessings we provide to the
We do.
Stephen K. from Georgia. You know Georgia. I've got a story about Georgia. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for buying the charcoal army zipper hoodie and a Johnson for you. I appreciate it.
Michael C. from O Wings Mills, MD. What's
Maryland.
MD? Maryland.
Maryland, Kyle.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Paul, my geography professor. Thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate it.
Get my map out. I've got the map right here.
I know.
Chris P. from Florida. Thank you very much for your purchase. I hope you enjoy it, and a Johnson for you, Chris.
Gaston Q. Thank you for having the coolest name ever, and also being from Chula Vista, California, not too far from us, in our hometown of CA. Thank you very much.
My last Johnson is for Jonathan R. from Missouri, and he got several items. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Blessings upon you and your family.
Matt R. from Lincoln, California also got a number of things. Thank you so much, Matt. I do appreciate it. I have no idea where Lincoln is, but it's in California, so I like it. I'm a little biased. I do have a few more Johnsons. I'll go through these quickly. Thank you very much, Adrian W. from Wollongong, NSW. New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
What's NSW?
New
I'm
South
so
Wales.
bad. New South Wales. Oh, good God. Good God help me. Thank you, Adrian. I appreciate it. We have one from Ted S. From Pasadena, California. My old backyard. Thank you very much, Teddy. Appreciate it. Arelis S. from Wichita, Kansas. Thank you very much. A Johnson to you. We have a Johnson for Edward H. from Houma, Louisiana. Houma, Louisiana. Thank you very, very much, Edward. Houma, that's a fun city to say. Yeah. Wesley G. from Jersey City. Thank you, Wesley. Keep it real. Keep it 100 in Jersey. Joyzy, Michael A. from Ridgefield, Connecticut,
Hot damn.
Johnson. I've never been to Connecticut. I should go to Connecticut sometime.
You
See what
should
Connecticut's all about. You know, what's up with Connecticut?
make some connections there in Connecticut.
Make some connections in Connecticut. Yeah, yes,
Just
definitely.
seems like what you should do there, right?
It seems like it's the state of connections. Cecilia S. Thank you very much from Diamond Bar, California.
Hey,
Wow, hey, locale.
yeah.
We should hang out sometime. Treat you to lunch. Jamie C. from Mililani, Hawaii. Hey, I
I
think
think
Paul,
that
you had
was
a
I think
Hawaiian. Was that a
that might have been a double there.
might have been a DJ right there? If so,
Mhm.
DJ Double Johnson for you, Jamie. Thank you. Aloha to you as well.
Yes, that was double Johnson for Jamie.
Nice. Double Johnson. Stephen K. from Suwanee, Georgia. That might be another Double Johnson. Thank you very much, Stephen. We've got just a few more here. Chris
That's double Johnson
from...
for Steven.
Stephen. Double Johnson. Chris P. from Valrico, Florida.
Florida.
You must be
Florida man
retired.
Christopher, also double Johnson.
Double Johnsons all day, every day. Jose F. from New York, New York. Hope things are okay. Hope things are okay in New York right now. I think they're getting better from what I hear. Pint glass. Oh yeah, I don't need to read that. Thank you very much, Jose. Appreciate that. Dylan DB. Dylan DB from Omaha, Nebraska. I've been to Omaha before. A lot of corn. I like corn, so I like Nebraska. Thank you very much, Dylan, for that. Johnson, we've got two more here. Zachary W. from St. Louis, Missouri. Johnson to you, another place I need to visit on my bucket list. And Nicholas R. from Tucson, Arizona. Alive in Tucson. Ayo. Thank you very much, Nicholas.
Glorious.
Nikki B. Appreciate it. All right, guys. That's going to do it. We do have one raid to sign you guys off onto. We're going to raid 2MG over C squared. Yes.
Oh.
We're gonna raid 2MG over C squared. Let me just double check to make sure that they're still streaming.
She is live.
They are live. She is live.
With 59
She's
viewers.
live. Go ahead and raid her. She's playing Fall Guys, the hottest new game right now. Go ahead and raid the shit out of 2MG over C squared. Tell her we sent you. Tell her we're awesome. And yeah, I guess we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks,
I'm not logged
everybody.
into Twitch, so I can't raid. So mods, if you could raid after this, thank you so much.
Did. It's
Oh,
raid.
thank you,
Over
Paul.
500 people are raiding now.
Paul's the best. Woo, raider.
Woo.
All right, guys, have a good night. We'll see you later.